You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Oh my goodness. This has been a week. A lot. Okay, a whole week. I am now 32 years old. I'm officially a grown-ass man again. And I'm just so elated. If you're listening to this episode on the day it's debuted, then you also know another special thing has happened. October 16th is my wedding anniversary. This year makes year 2, which is a special, day. It's always it feels like it was yesterday. Literally, it feels like it was like about a couple, maybe a year ago. It doesn't feel like 2 years. Like time has been going by so fast, especially when you have fun. So it's been interesting. I'm like, wow, it's been 2 years already. Like, wasn't it last year? But no, October 16th, 2021, Mr. Johnson and I tied the knot at the Penn Museum on a lovely, lovely Saturday night. It was beautiful. It was a little bit of rain in the beginning, but not, we had our wedding indoors. But I always say, rain is they say it's good luck when it rains on a wedding date. It's a sign of change and stability and, letting go of the old and bringing in the new. And so it's a beautiful sign. But it was a lovely wedding. It was perfect. It's definitely just a blissful time. And the thing is that like fall, I realize like fall has been always a blissful time. Like I love fall. Fall is my favorite season. It's all the birthdays, all the announcements, it's all the things. It's just a great time. I love fall a lot. And I love October, my favorite month. And February is my second favorite month because I have a lot of celebrations in February. And I think January's my third favorite month. Yeah, those are my top. Those are my tops, and then I love July. Oh God, July is always fun too. Those are my top 4 months, and then every other month is it's whatever. But yeah, so much to talk about. And you all have been DM me down, so I'm trying to take each step by step. So 32nd birthday, what was going on? It was fabulous. I mean, it was everything. There was a lovely party that my Mr. Johnson put together, and it was gorgeous. It was at our house, at our place, nice rooftop at our spot. And what I loved about it was that our where we live has a beautiful, rooftop situation and party space that no one had to actually step foot in my spot, in my crib. No one had to come in my actual space because upstairs had everything, bathrooms and the views and the outdoor, indoor, and all of that jazz. So it was incredible. Shout out to Miss Dawn. Details by Miss Dawn for catering. Cake Life Bake Shop, which always do all of my cakes and sweets and desserts. I had a beautiful cake, the funfetti cake, which is very symbolic because our wedding cake was from Cake Life Bakery, and we had the funfetti, which is the Beyonce birthday cake, the Bayfetti as they will call it. But it was so defined. The food was so good. We had what did he get? Miss Dawn made these jerk chicken skewers. Um, there were salmon bites. There was ribeye steak bites. There was this baked mac and cheese that everyone just completely devoured. Grilled shrimp. There was a cheese tray, a charcuterie, a really big charcuterie done well. I'm trying to think what else I got. I ate something else that I'm thinking about. Oh, the crab cakes. Oh, they had the mini crab cakes, and then there was that grilled shrimp. Then there was this, these vegetables, these grilled vegetable skewers, and Mr. Johnson made an incredible. He bought his bartender. Then he became bartender Barry and made this really huge, like really great lavender lemonade punch that had vodka, and it was a hit. It was a hit. The people couldn't get enough. Um, what I'm saying, they just couldn't get enough. Um, you know, uh, I just was. I was on cloud nine. So many people came. Of course, the Lit brothers came. Of course, Dr. Parks, who lives on the second floor of me, and her lovely fiance, Joe. They came, of course. Chris Bartlett came, my fave, Kelly Mirbot, Laura, Josh, George, and Jamarcus, my whole entire PABJ boarding family, which is great. Candace came through. So many people. I'm just thinking. Brittany came, and oh my gosh. Oh, Miss Patty Jackson came. Oh, Desiree Peter Kimbell showed up. Um, Quajo from college, Abel, of course, and his lovely girlfriend Senna. They all came. Everyone was like, oh, Nina. Nina came all the way from New York, and she sung Happy Birthday with those incredible vocals, per usual. Sharon, everyone came. It was a big, big party. Oh, my good Judy Amanda St. Paul, not to be confused with Dr. Parks, but they're both like, science folks. Well, one psychology, one is I think it does medical work, but they, everybody was in the building. It was a great party. It was a really great party. Um, oh yeah, Janine Cook, who's from Harriet's bookstores and Ida's and all that, she came. It was a nice party. Mr. Johnson has taste, he knows how to, make it special. So it was a fun party. So many great gifts that I received. So many lovely gifts. Oh, it's so many things. As I'm, recording this podcast, I'm looking at some of them. These lovely flowers. I got so many great flowers. This lovely bouquet of flowers from Miss Dawn. Oh, my friend John Pierre, he got me a nice little set of flowers, and then Sharon got me a big old, set of these really yellow like flowers, which were nice. I just got them all over the house. They're so pretty, so colorful, so festive. I have so many bottles I can't even begin to start. Big, huge bottles, Vive Coquette, or Couquet. Lots of champagne, lots of Rosado, gift cards galore, gifts, donations, gifts. I got Lux Nails, which my good Judy Amanda got me a manicure and pedicure from there, and I got my nails done. And this look that you are seeing is a cat eye shade with some star designs. It's giving a very midnight vibe, which is very like in that Taylor Swift, because the 1 year anniversary of Midnights by Taylor Swift is this month. We're gonna talk more about that film in a minute, but these nails are inspired with that hue and that look. So it's like a midnight nail, which kind of have a Halloween feel, but it also has this very fall feel. And it's like I also get this sparkly birthday nail feel. It's perfect. Amanda was so sweet. Such a nice gift. And my feet were beautiful. My toes and everything has been great. Lauren took me out to the spa. I went to Joseph Anthony, I believe his name is, who has this regularly great spa that is incredible. Joseph Anthony, yeah, there was like a retreat spa and salon. We went to the one in Springfield, but there's one at the Lowe's in Center City, but that one in Springfield, woo, I got a really, really great facial. And then I got a whole bamboo massage. And while you wait in the waiting room, you can get unlimited, it's like an unlimited open bar of like champagne and red wine and all that kind of stuff. It's really dope. So I got that, and I did that before the party so I could be in the vibe. Um, other gifts, lots of gifts. Oh my goodness. Oh my good. Kelly got me this really nice red wine. It was a nice red wine. It was a 3-digit bottle. I gotta save that for a special occasion because I always get a good bottle of red wine from her, and I always like save it. Like the last time she got me this really good bottle, I saved it for like Thanksgiving dinner, but it was like only between Barry and I. And then this bottle, I'm like, what am I gonna do with this one? I gotta figure out where I need to go somewhere special. I need to put it in a really good decanter. I need to make sure that I aerate it properly. I just want to have a really great experience with that bottle because it looks good. I also got, oh my gosh, Lauren got me a bunch of gifts from Inswell. Laura did. It was like a whiskey, it was a gin. Because if you go to Inswell, this is that restaurant in Rittenhouse that I told you, that new restaurant that like sells and uses only Philadelphia-based liquor. So we're hyper local over here on Ernestly Speaking. So she got me that, and then she also got me like this little kit that you could pour a cocktail in, and it's like a magic cocktail batch, but like you pour the liquor in and you strain it, and you can use it with anything, but it's going to give it a little flavor, essence. It's going to infuse whatever liquor you have so you can use for a festive cocktail. Very out the box, very nice. Chris Bartlett got me this nice gift card, and he gave me a very nice book of the last conversations of James Baldwin. How thoughtful. And we love a nice card with a nice message. Love a card with a nice message and nice letter. So that was really sweet. Sharon got me a gift card from Lord and Taylor, which is like my fashion, my guilty, my little guilty fashion. Candace and this gift. She got me a gift card from Kills. And right now, Kills is about to start doing a buy one, get one free sale. So I'm going to do my winter stock up because my winter products I use for my skincare is not the same as the products I use for the summer and the fall. But now as it get colder, I'm going to have to change up my facial wash. My mask I can keep. My moisturizer is going to have to get a little bit more dense. So I'm going to definitely be on that. But yeah, it's about time for me to restock. So all of these gift cards have been nice and lovely. Oh, Amber, who was there with her fiance, she got me a CVS gift card, which you all don't understand, but that's that's a very thoughtful gift. I shop religiously at CVS, and so a CVS gift card, y'all don't understand. Like, there's something about it that just makes me feel at home. Um, Other things that I got. The boys are surprising me, the brothers are surprising me with something next week, so I have to clear my calendar. Is it next week? No, it's going to be the week after, I think, on the 30th. We're doing something. I don't know what it is, but I was told to clear my calendar. So that is happening. Other stuff. I mean, it was so many gifts, so much liquor. All the folks that just got me bottles of champagne and gin, you just know me so well. All of my just giving me liquor, just to restock. It's just, it's never a bad time to have a good, expensive bottle of champagne. And that we have enough of, but it's always nice to have more. And enough Blue Coat to last me forever. I mean, I really, every time I look at my gin collection, I'm like, wow, I never will go out of Blue Coat. This is a very, we support our local distilleries here in Philadelphia. Um, what else did I get? Lots of things. Oh my goodness, Jamarcus. So I got a record. He gave me a record. Sarah McLachlan, Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, which is a great album, but I have a record player. I have a little slow record collection I'm building up. So far, it's mostly Janet, Beyonce, and Taylor Swift, and Madonna. But now we have Sarah McLachlan, and so I'm super excited about that. And it's from a great album, very thoughtful. Like he knows what I like. And so, yeah, it's just a lot going on. But I'm so touched, so loved. Oh yeah, Desiree got me a Telfar wallet, because I'm just gonna just keep being Telfarred out. And my little brother got me a $100 Amazon gift card, a lovely candle, and showed me his business card at City Council. He's got a personalized business card, and he dropped it in the card. What a flex! I wonder where he would get something like, where he would get a habit like that from. That was the most touching thing, honestly. Just so, yes, just so touching. Mr. Johnson tells me we have plans. We're not going to be in Philly next weekend. And it's like a cross intersection here. For those who've been keeping up with this situation. So our relationship anniversary is on February 13th. So next February we'll be 10 years as a couple. His birthday is on the 17th of February, which is 4 days after our anniversary, our relationship anniversary. Now, why is that funny? Because my birthday is on October 12th, and our anniversary as a wedded couple is on October 16th. 4 day difference. 4 day difference between both. Think about it. Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah. So there's always a big Aquarius era in our household, and there's always a big Libra season in our household. We have both. And so it's funny because Aquarius, everyone, I have a bunch of friends who are Aquarius, like back to back to back to back to back. I have, Sharon, I have Manny, I have, of course, Mr. Johnson, and I have, well, there's other people, I guess, that are Aquarius that I know too. But it's a lot going on in both of these times. So I always make February and October pivotal moments in the Ernest Owens holiday calendar. But yeah, he told me, he's like, because normally the way we work this is that February is heavy on me because we really Valentine's Day and the anniversary is like one thing for us, and then his birthday is separate. And so I know in February, I know what is it? What are those things people get? It's income checks, income stuff. I don't get those. I wish I did. I just have to keep paying taxes. But around that time is tax season. I make sure I set a bag aside so we can really have a great February. And now October is our thing. So now every October he, do something. So this anniversary is gonna be fun. Our first anniversary was hilarious because last year we bought the same gift. We did the most. We thought, oh, we're not gonna have the same gift. There's no way. And then we pulled out those gifts and it was the same exact gift. Okay, it was giving gift to Manchi. It was definitely giving that. It was just hilarious. And he had gotten a gold frame, which is my favorite color, and I had gotten a white frame as a neutral for the walls. So one of it was a constellation map. So it was like a constellations that mapped out our exact time we got married, which was at 6 p.m. on October 16th. And it maps it, and it was like a constellation design, and we got the exact identical constellation map and everything. Same background, except he definitely did a little bit more, but it was the same company, but he just enhanced it more than I did because he's like a less is more guy, but I am, a little bit more, gauty in my godly, my fashion gautry. But we put the gold one, his one that he bought in the house in the living room, and then the other one is in our bedroom. So it worked out perfectly. But this time around, the stakes are very different. We're definitely doing some different things, and so I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to share. I'm a little excited about surprises. All I know is I have to clear my calendar out for this upcoming weekend. So, upcoming weekend, if people want to be like, "Oh, come here, what you doing? What you do?" I can't do nothing, baby. I'm gone. I'm gone the whole weekend. So, it should be fun. I know there's elements of travel. I know I'm going to be in New York City for part of it. No, I can't stop and see anybody. I don't think I can. I don't think there's going to be time unless other folks are in on it. I don't know. But I'll be in New York. I know that much. And then I don't know the rest. So we're going to see. We're going to find out. But I'm so excited there's more to come. But yes, the party was great. There was lots of celebrations. So for starters, we went to the grand opening of Lock Bar on October 12th, which was my actual birth date. We went there. It was the seafood restaurant, which is across the street from the Kimmel Center. Let me tell you about Lock Bar real quick. Shout out to Lock Bar. Lock Bar had its grand opening, and we were at the premiere, and they surprised me with birthday love. Shout out to Cashman Associates, my favorite Nicole Cashman. They all, showed up. It was so grand. It was a lovely grand opening. There was a step and repeat. There was a step and repeat. There was like a whole row. It was just, we had a booth section. You could see the whole city. You could see all of Broad Street on the side with the window seating. I mean, it was perfect. It was very perfect. It was just lively in there. That bar is divine. They have a raw seafood bar that then goes into the actual liquor bar. Great cocktails, very fun. There's something for everybody there. Lots of good seafood. And they have chops. They have, steak and other things too. It's not just seafood there, but that's their highlight. This is from Atlas Restaurant Group, which is based in Baltimore. They have a Lock Bar across the country. There's various locations in Houston and Chicago. But they have one in Philly now. And this is the first Atlas Restaurant Group establishment to be in Philly. It was a big deal that even the mayor, who came out of hibernation, came and did the ribbon cutting. And it's right across the street from the Kimmel. And here's the other big part. They're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they're going to eventually, very soon, have brunch on weekends. But they are a fully operated experience. And there's lots of space. Get you a reservation. Make sure you check it out. It is definitely a fave of mine. A fave as far as premieres. It's one of my favorite fall restaurant openings thus far. There's a lot of restaurants opening in the fall, but the Lock Bar opening was stellar. And I couldn't be surprised. I mean, look who put it together. I mean, just the opulence of it all. It's just regal. It was very fun. But here is the best part of this. It is open till 2 a.m. Yes, Philadelphia finally has something that's going to be open past midnight, past 10 p.m. So remember I told you I was going to go see Wicked in November. Now I have somewhere I can go for a cute bite, a good drink, or something downtown. Listen, I live in West, baby. So, I mean, West never had a problem with late nights, if you know what I mean. Like, listen, but it's nice to know that when I go downtown now, if I'm trying to figure out what's the move, because personally, I'm a little tired of Attico. I'm not an Attico girl, but I know a lot of people like the Attico rooftop, and they've done rooftop that out. I'm not crazy about it, but I get that because it's one of the only few things that was open late at night. I get it. Del Frisco Grill is cute, but it's like, it's becoming more of a upscale, it's more of an upscale sports bar for execs than it is an actual like you go there for a quick bite. I'm gonna always get the VIP, but it's not like a formal seating. Lock Bar has an elegance to it that you just can't shake off. And I need something where I can go and sit down and have a meal or have a good drink somewhere that's late. I'm not going to stay open till 2 a.m. all the time, but like it'd be nice that if I'm in a hotel downtown, there's a convention or a conference or something, there will be something that's lively and fun that I can slide into. So I kind of like that. I'm really hoping the best. It's in the art house on the first floor. So it's right across the street from Kimmel. You cannot miss it. It's so pretty. It's so grand. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I really cannot wait for a lock bar again. I have to return, but everything was good. They have broiled oysters, y'all. Broiled oysters. They have what it was. Oh my God, the shrimp. You could get any type of shrimp. It was good. The oysters Rockefeller, I think it was. They had all the tuna tartare. I mean, they had everything in there. It was just it's something for everybody. I really loved it. I really loved it. I love their steak, their marinated steak. So good, so good. Go, go. You didn't hear it from well, you heard it from me. Go. Dinner following, because that was like little pregame of the pregame. We went to Alpen Rose, which is a Scholzen collective restaurant. Michael Scholzen, who's an incredible restaurateur. He owns various restaurants in Philly. Some of the ones that we all know is Sampan, the iconic happy hour. Sampan, Graffiti Bar, um, Giuseppe and Sons, not Pearl and Mary, Giuseppe and Sons, and Harp and Crown. Harp and Crown. He owns that. He owns a lot of things. Those are some of the big ones that I can easily, speak to. Oh, Double Knot. He owns Double Knot. So here's the cool thing. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. So I went to Pearl and Mary, which is that new seafood restaurant that's right there in the neighborhood or Midtown Village, right across the street from Elvez. Now, I am about confident to say that the most ridiculous, expensive, the most lively food restaurant row in Philadelphia. I used to think it was on Passyunk, but this might take the cake. Is the one that's right there on 13th, but 13th in Locust or Sansom, maybe Sansom or Chestnut. It's like that little strip. There's a row. It's between Walnut. It starts at Walnut, 13th and Walnut, and then it ends on, I want to say, the end of Chestnut. But there is a strip of restaurants, and that end corner on that Chestnut and 13th is, what is that restaurant? It is Pearl and Mary. Right next to Pearl and Mary is Alpen Rose. Right next to Alpen Rose is Double Knot. Right next to Double Knot is Sampan. And right next to Sampan is a graffiti bar. That is back-to-back hits. Okay, it's like, it reminds me of Janet's, like, when Janet had a row of albums that were unshakable. You had, Control, you had Rhythm Nation, you had Janet, period, you had The Velvet Robe, and you had All For You. 5 back-to-back albums that are unskippable. You can't skip those Rosa Janet albums. Those are the quintessential Janet Jackson albums, baby. No misses, baby. Let me break that again. You cannot deny Control from Janet Jackson. Then you got Rhythm Nation, iconic Janet period album. Like, what are we talking about here? Velvet Robe, like what? And then All For You, the comeback. Listen, all 5 of those albums are fire. That is back to back. Okay, a lot of people don't have an album run like that. Beyonce's getting there. These albums she's been dropping, she got a nice little thing going with her right now. But this Janet 5 album slayage, unmatched. Okay, unmatched. Stevie Wonder in the early 80s, I say he had like 3, 4 albums that just did not miss. But this Janet 5 album row, that's how I feel about this row in Midtown Village. Those restaurants, they are right next to each other. Schulston has all of them. I want to double check and see something real quick because I think he has Pearl and Mary, but I could be wrong. I want to be right. I want to see. I'm going to tell y'all all the restaurants he owns because he has all of them. So he has Harp and Crown, Alpen Rose, Sanpan, Double Knot, Via La Costa, Independence Beer Garden, Giuseppe and Sons, DK Sushi, which is the Double Knot at Franklin's Table in University City. Prunella, which is right across the street, and he has Graffiti Bar, and he does own Pearl and Mary Oyster Bar. Okay, y'all, he does own Pearl and Mary. So he has Izakaya, which is in Atlantic City, and he has another restaurant coming soon called Bar Leisure. Now, let me tell you what's funny about his two restaurants he has. One half of his restaurants, a lot of his restaurants, his other half is in Sansom. So that's Harp and Crown. That is Giuseppe and Sons. They are in Sansom, right next to each other. But this little row he has on that block, that Harp and Crown, that Alpen Rose, Sampan, Pernella is across the street, Pearl and Mary. That row is fire. He owns all those restaurants and Graffiti Bar, baller. So they are all that strip. That strip, that's so, I want to call it Scholson Row because that's how badass that is. He has all of his restaurants right next to each other, and none of them are flopping, baby. And they all got something different. Like Alpen Rose is a steakhouse. We was there for my birthday dinner. It was divine. I had beef Wellington. I had a lot of things. Oysters Rockefeller. I had the prawns. I had the beef Wellington, which I remember Mr. Johnson had filet mignon. We had what else did we have? Oh, we had this bone marrow toast with the bone and the marrow, and then the toast with the meat. That was delicious. We had roasted carrots and all of the treats. It was a very lively dinner. But what I love the most is that beef Wellington, which I think I had it medium rare, which is the way the chef wanted to do it, and he put it in this lovely flaky crust, and it was so tender and savory. And the only time I've had beef Wellington was at what was that restaurant? Hell's Kitchen in Vegas and Atlantic City. That's the only place I've had a beef Wellington at a restaurant. Now, I do hear there's a place called Jensen in Northwest. I need to go to Jensen. They have a beef Wellington too. I'm going to try that beef Wellington and see what it's giving. But Alpen Rose's beef Wellington right now is number one on my beef Wellington list. It's only two to compare. But so far on the beef Wellington list, Alpen Rose got the best one. But I heard about Jensen, and I need to go to Jensen in the Northwest and try their beef Wellington and see what it's giving over there. I need to call my lawyer because he lives around there. I need to see what's up. We're supposed to have been gone, but we're gonna go because I need to try their beef Wellington before I draw a formal conclusion. So far, though, I must say Alpen Rose's beef Wellington is superior. Now we had that. We also had the Bake Alaska, which was a really fun dessert where it's like ice cream cold in the middle, but on the outside they put fire and flames to give it that caramelization, like they do creme brulee. They kind of glaze it a little bit, like they kind of give it the sear, and that was a fun dessert. And then of course I had a strawberry rhubarb tart, which was really good. And then the cocktails were awesome as always. There's that smoky whiskey drink with all the smoke that comes out. I mean, I'm a sucker for performance. I was like, look, I don't know what that, I mean, I didn't drink it because I'm not a whiskey girl, but Mr. Johnson enjoyed it. But I was like, I love a good presentation. If you give me a fun presentation with a drink, that's selling the drink. Because every time you do it, everybody at the table around you looking at you like, what's going on over here? The funny part was that at Alpen Rose that night, it's clearly a celebratory place. You go there to propose to somebody. You go there to celebrate a job promotion. You go there to celebrate a birthday. You go there to celebrate an anniversary. So the first time we went was our first year anniversary last year. We went together as a couple, and we had a lovely romantic dinner. And then here we are again this year going, but under birthday circumstances. That's a special occasion restaurant. That's a restaurant where if you serious, like, don't go if you're not listening. Let me tell you men something. Because y'all here playing games. I'm seeing these stupid viral videos about Cheesecake Factory. I'm not getting into these stunts. Because I was like, what y'all think about the Cheesecake Factory thing? I don't think anything of it. I don't care. I think it's a situation where somebody is like trying to go viral, which they always do. I don't know if the shit is real or a skit. I don't really care. But what I will say is, at this point, grown ass adults, please, like, several things. One, have a conversation to figure out what your mate or your person you're dating with is into before you take them out anywhere. That's, be mindful, be real. Second, people, everybody, I'm not going to put on a one black woman or anybody, but I'm going to say that to people that do the whole calling out verbal stuff about dates and stuff, and you're a grown ass adult, if you are over the age of, if you are 21 and over doing that shit, there is a special, listen, I'm not here for it. I think the whole viral shaming people about a date just make you look stupid too, to be honest. I mean, I wasn't supposed to talk about this, but here we are, just going right into it. Because I just want to get it out. I don't care. No one cares. You had a bad date with somebody. You want to shame the person all about it. Listen, people are dying right now. There is a global crisis and no one gives a fuck about no cheesecake. You ought to be happy you got on a date. Because a lot of people just getting fucked and dumped. Okay? And that's fine too. I'm not slut shaming anybody. I'm just saying people out here are not even getting that. So, I mean, in a world where there could be a recession and there's a global crisis, I think getting taken to, Cheesecake Factory for a date is not the worst thing to happen to mankind. But you know what is worse? Is filming it. Because guess what? Nobody wants to date a person that's going to videotape everything and put everything on the internet and shame and embarrass and give opinions. So honestly, you made yourself not that attractive and you don't deserve to have a date with anybody acting like that. So you actually look like a whole jerk. And you know what? Hey, you deserve that. If you was going to act like that and do all of that, whoever took you on that date knew what type of person you were, and they were probably trying to test you, which is still immature because no one should be testing adults at this point. But you know what? Everybody involved in this situation, it is what it is. Because, So yeah, that's how I really feel about that situation. But anyway, Alpen Rose is a special occasion. It's not somewhere you should just go. Like, you should not just go to Alpen Rose. I feel like it's something to celebrate. Every time I'm there, there's so much joy and love. Like, everybody who goes are like celebrating an anniversary, a birthday or something. So it was 3 tables next to us. Each of those individuals were born on October 12th. Isn't that crazy? 3's a charm. We had a really fabulous time. It was a bunch of love. And also diversity. Like, it's all types of couples in there. Young couples, old couples, gay couples. Last year on our wedding anniversary, we bumped into someone else we knew that has the same wedding anniversary. Our friend Zach Wilka, he got married on the same date and year, and a year later, when we was going out on our anniversary, we was at the same restaurant out. We was both at Outback at the same time. Isn't that crazy? And we didn't even plan any of these things. So it's just, life is full of coincidences and things, and it's just life. So yeah, I say I have to say Alpen Rose was divine. Look, if you're trying to take somebody on a cute date that's still nice, that's upscale, but not like I'm trying to propose to you, go to Lock Bar. But if you're trying to be on some serious shit, don't make a reservation Alpen Rose and not be on some, I'm trying to celebrate your promotion, baby. I'm trying to propose to you, baby. I'm trying to celebrate this job promotion with these big money I'm coming in. That's gonna, you got to celebrate there. That ain't a place that you just go on some, we just gonna go for dinner. Because you setting yourself up. I've heard stories. There's a girl I know, I'm not naming names, that this man took her out to dinner at this particular restaurant, not Alpen, but another restaurant that's just as nice, John George's in the Four Seasons. And basically took her up there. That's a serious restaurant. They did the tasting menu, and she thinking, it's been some years. Something about to go down. And she opened up that box, and what was in it? A bracelet. So I tell people all the time, you just never, she wasn't too happy. And they're not together anymore now, by the way. So it just goes to show you that, you can set somebody up in a certain type of way and set a mood. Because I feel like that's what happened with my friend Joe and Amanda. He took her to the nicest hotel in Baltimore, okay, Pendry, and you ain't taking nobody to the Pendry. See, he gave it a clearly it was a nice giveaway, but he gave it away because I'm like, the Pendry in Baltimore is a very nice hotel. It's a beautiful place. You ain't taking nobody to the Pendry for no birthday, for no anniversary. I'm sorry. Yeah. Not a couple's anniversary. No, me and Johnson, me and Mr. Johnson, we did nice stuff, but we didn't do the Four Seasons until our honeymoon for marriage. It's just certain stuff you gotta build to. I was like, I think in retrospect, he was dropping those hints now in retrospect. Because if you taking me to the Pendry and we just been together as a couple, we haven't been married, that is giving off a strong signal. Had it not been an engagement, that would have been weird looking back. Like, because then where do you go next at that point? You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to propose, where do you go next if you haven't done that? So I get it now. There are, I used to always be, listen, I have grown up and evolved. I used to never believe that there were certain restaurants for certain occasions. I just felt like you just go and eat wherever. But I'm realizing that you can send signals. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain signal you're trying to send at certain places, and you can't be taking people out to Alpen Rose or John George just cause. I mean, unless you're dealing with Beyonce or you Katy Perry or you Barbara Streisand or something. And he's like, oh, let's go on this. Let's go to. If I was a rich millionaire and I was dating Barbara Streisand, hypothetically, I'd be like, Barb, let's go up to the Four Seasons for dinner. She'd be like, oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Ernest. I love you. She'll just take me. She wouldn't even have a problem. But think about, like, if, I'm an everyday guy, working man or whatever, and I'm like, hey, baby, we should go out to John George's The Four Seasons. She gonna start thinking some things. Somebody might be like, what you trying to do here? What we doing here? This is serious. I will never forget the friend of mine who had this experience at the Four Seasons. I'm telling you, y'all, she got us all excited. She told the friends, a little core group, she's like, listen, I think it's going to happen this year. I'm just going to stay ready, get my nails done. And she was all excited, y'all. And it didn't happen the way she thought. And capitalism, consumerism, conspicuous consumption. Here we go. So there is just a lot. There's a lot. And I'm just taking it in and processing because, what a time. So, other things that's been going on. I was so caught up in that. I was like, okay, let me focus. So the book, final 2 days of the book, the final 2 dates of the book tour are coming back to back. So next Tuesday I'll be at Ryder, but this Wednesday I'll be at Cheney in conversation with the legendary Miss Patty Jackson of WDAS Radio. She will be in talks with me about my book. It's gonna be a big old fun event. If you're interested in going, it's free to the public. Just make sure that you RSVP, and you can RSVP in the link in the bio of my Instagram and Twitter. So you go to my Instagram, Twitter account, you look at the link in the bio, you can click there, and it will direct you to how to RSVP for this lovely event at Cheney University. It's going to be from 6 to 8. I'll be signing books. I'll be taking pictures. I'll be in conversations. There'll be great food, catered. No alcohol because we are on a college campus and it's a dry campus. But there'll be lots of other fun drinks to drink that's non-alcoholic. Janine Cook from Harriet's, she will be there, and it'll be lovely because she'll be selling the book. So every book that you buy will be supporting a Black-owned bookstore. Harriet's, a Black woman-owned bookstore in Philly. So you got to take advantage of that. And then the following week is Ryder, but that's for the students. I'm ending with the kids because, I love the children. And so we will be at Ryder, and I'll be having a great talk called Don't Get Canceled. And it's a part of the LGBTQ History Month series. And because I'm Black and I'm queer, we're going to get them, that we're going to get that intersectional bag. I haven't used intersectional in a long time. But yes, intersectional bag, because it's identity, race and gender identity and queer expression, all of the things. And also, intersectionality is important. Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who is a really important, sociologist and scholar, who also was a scholar behind critical race theory. This was in the late 80s, early 90s, but intersectionality was another theory that she had explored and executed. And it's just still relevant to this day, as you can see. So lots. These last 2 dates, a week of the last, and after that, The book tour, as you all know, it will not be. It will be 16 cities. And I have traveled 16 cities. I have hit all the spots, but now we're down to the final two. We're going to be in Cheney and we're going to be in Jersey the following week. And after that, it's not that I won't be doing any more book signings. It's just that I won't have like the book tour. Like I got to go to this bookstore. Like basically all of my paid speaking engagements will most likely include a book signing proponent. So when I start going traveling and doing my guest lectures and speaking engagement for different things, there will also be an option for me to be able to sign books. So what will happen is the venue or the company or the group I'm with, they'll get the books in advance, and then I'll just be there to sign books and sign copies and things. So that will be how it will be moving forward. But that won't be like the national book tour. I'll be at a bookstore, I'll be open to the public. These will probably be more private, intimate events for whatever college is on campus. So for example, Rider is a good example of that. So Rider University, which is in Jersey, I'm going to have a paid speaking engagement. I'm going to get paid. But I'm going to do a speaking engagement, and then I'm going to do Q&A. But then afterwards, they bought a bunch of books. And so I'm going to be signing copies of the book after my talk. And because they bought the books, the students will be gifted with them, which is pretty dope. And I'll be signing copies, and, it'll be a fabulous time. So that will be the model moving forward. But that's not a book tour where people can come from all over. These are going to be more, based on a request from a client. So if you are a company, a nonprofit or organization that would love to book me, you can also go to my website at ernestly.com. There are details with my agent who is there, Sean from Collective Speakers. You can contact him and try to book me. A lot of you all have been doing that. Shout to you all. And you all know who you are. I'm not going to name your names because I know how people like to shake the girls down. But thank you all to all of you who, send out requests, booking me for different events throughout the year, whether, locally and nationally, okay? Because there's people who listen to this podcast from across the country. And when y'all see me flying out to these cities, listen, those flights, those hotels, all that is people investing in things. So I'm really grateful to a lot of you all who definitely booked me out in your city to come through your university, to get copies of the book purchased in advance, to really make the book signing a magical experience this entire year. We started at the beginning of the year in February, and now it ends in October. What a beautiful, experience all around. And I'm just so gracious for all of you all. And I'm still available for bookings. I do winters, I do falls, I do everything. I travel, I'm fully vaccinated, I'm about to get the new booster coming right up and the flu shots and stuff, but I'm getting ready. So if you need a speaker, you need someone like me, check out my website, ernestly.com. You can get everything you need, that information, and contact my agent, get all the information, book me. We will work with your budget depending on your budget. I don't do nothing for $100, but we'll work with, schools and kids and things. If there's different programs and it works with my schedule, I will be the most accommodating and work with you. So, shameless plug, but it's my podcast, so I can promote myself. So check it out if you're interested. But thank you to the people who come to the podcast, listen to it, and have thought of me for things and have booked me and have, helped me continue to do this great work. So I appreciate you. Yeah. So other cool news, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists announced their honorees this year for the upcoming gala, which is on November 11th at the American Revolution. Tickets are on sale now. If you want to come to the gala, check the link in my bio because the link to get tickets is there. Tickets are pretty reasonable. This year, the gala is going to have 2 liquor sponsors, Uncle Nearest Whiskey and Tito's Vodka. They will be our 2 top liquor sponsors, which I'm so excited to be able to work with and engage with for this great event. Catering is going to be from Brule Catering. There will be an upstairs, downstairs party. There's going to be lots of food. And your ticket gets you a grand open bar, gets you all this incredible food, beautiful decorations, lots of party favors, and an entire time to celebrate some incredible Black journalists doing some incredible great work. Well, I am going to announce who the winners are in their respective categories. So Community Service Award is going to Janine Cook from Harriet's Bookstore. We love you, Janine. Janine's going to be the Community Service Award winner. The Impact Award is going to two people from WRD Radio, Tiffany Bacon and Troy Wilmore, who's the executive producer he's the producer of my show, Philadelphia City Council Live on WRD every Thursday. That is him. And Tiffany is WRD Radio's creative, programming director. She does all of the ideas to like bring value and creative and spark and ingenuity to the station. So she's going to be honored. They're both going to be honored with the Impact Award. The Visual Journalist of the Year award is going to be going to Stephen C.W. Taylor from Ubuntu Art Gallery in the Northwest Philly around Germantown. He's going to be honored with the Visual Journalist of the Year award, which is incredible. The Lifetime Achievement Award is going to Natasha Brown, who is a co-anchor at CBS News Philadelphia. She is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for over 20 years in the industry, inspiring people. And Natasha is an incredible journalist and broadcast journalist at that. And Journalist of the Year is going to me. It's like, oh, wow. So, yes, I'm being honored apparently for all the work I've done this year. And for this honor, which was when I received the word I was getting it, I was just like so surprised, because I also serve on the board of PABJ as well, but I don't play a role. Like the board does not play a role in like the process around nominations. I was nominated by members of the industry and the community, and they nominated me, and the board approved it, and I wasn't in any of the deliberations at all, but I was like, wow. And to be clear, I'm not the only person in PABJ leadership to win, any honor from the organization while simultaneously serving. As my mentor said it best, when it's your year, it's your year, and it's undeniable. And I guess it's been a year. I mean, I read the press release that they ran, and I'm going to read exactly what CBS News reported on all of the winners. And they wrote, this is what they said. The 2023 PABJ Award honorees will also include media powerhouse Ernest, who received the PABJ Journalist of the Year Award. Owens is an accomplished political reporter, author, food editor, media advocate, city council radio host, podcaster, journalism professor, and entrepreneur. With this historic win, Owens joins a prestigious group of previous PABJ leaders who were honored for their career work while also serving the organization simultaneously. Wow. I'm just taken aback by all the jobs they said I had. Let me count: political reporter 1, author, food editor, media advocate, city council radio host, podcaster, journalism professor, entrepreneur. That's 8 jobs. I'm competing with the Jamaicans. I got 8 titles that she put in. I think those are all the titles. I think that's all. Is that all the titles? Yeah, I think that's all of them. I will also say sex, sex icon, sex symbol, but wearer of good loafers, loafer influencer. No, no, it's fabulous. I'm deeply touched. I was joking on Facebook about it all. I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio after 7, consecutive nominations. He finally won his 7th. It's giving Susan Lucci, 19 Emmy nominations before she finally won at the end of the century, 1999, for her work as Best Lead Actress in a soap opera for All My Children. I feel, I'm very verklempt, by all of this love and support, because I've been busting my ass. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna talk my shit for just a minute, but I've been in the game for a long time. I'm not an OG, but I'm definitely not a new baby. Okay, I'm not an overnight success. There's been people that have said that lately. I'm just kind of like, child, check the resume. But I've been doing this at some capacity since 2010, when I had my first radio show called Ernestly Speaking, which was done in the campus of University of Pennsylvania. We started that show in October. See, October just has so much semblance. October, right before my 19th birthday, I was 18 years old and did a radio show. And that radio show and what came of it inspired to everything. Before I was a writer, I was doing broadcasts. I was doing that radio show every Saturday night from 8 to 10 on WQHS. We'll never forget that .org. And people would stream on campus and listen to my wild ass show. I'm clearly a grown man. We ain't listen. That show was like the Jerry Springer of campus life, but it was a good show. You know, it was like Maury, who's another proud Penn alum, but it was a good show nonetheless. We had great conversations. There were great moments. There was a lot, but it was a fun show. But that sparked something in me. I remember at the end of my freshman year in 2011, a good friend of mine at the time, his name was Cornelius Range. He said, listen to the show. He said, "Do you write?" And I was like, "I write. What you mean?" He's like, if you write how you talk about things, you would be a hit." That's literally what he said to me. I'll never forget that. He said, if you write how you talk, you will be a hit. And I never thought about it that way because I was very vocal. I was very, I love to talk. I'm a conversationalist. I love to have conversations. And so there was an opening in the summer of 2011 while I was still on Penn's campus. What was I doing that summer? That was a wild summer. That was the summer of four. Oh my goodness. Amanda remembers that summer. Summer of four, baby, that era, that whole era. Because I was in Rihanna era before she was about to drop Talk That Talk. So we was on Loud era. So I was doing the Viva Coco because she was doing that. The red hair era of Rihanna was intertwining with the Summer of Four, Beyonce's comeback album, which had a very sloppy single called Run the World. But we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But I know Amanda's rolling her eyes listening to this. But like, anyway, the Summer of Four was happening while also End of Time, Justice for End of Time. Anyway, the Summer of Four and all that. So there was a lot going on. So there was an opportunity. I was reached out to. The Daily Pennsylvanian had asked for columns. They wanted to get some columnists for the fall. And so I had no prior published experience. I don't know what they wanted, but I submitted them some writing samples of just what was on my mind. And they were like, "Yeah, let's do this." And I had a column in college called The Ernest Opinion. Yes, The Ernest Opinion was also what I called Metro years later. But at that time, I had a college campus column called The Ernest Opinion, which I did every Friday. And I would just talk about campus issues. And Fridays, I would do the column. And then Saturdays, I would do the radio show. And during that time, I was dabbling into campus TV, had a show briefly called The Ernest Experience, but I was doing all this multimedia stuff. I officially decided that I was not going to major in poli-sci and do communications. Because when I came into Penn, my major, I was interested in law school. I was going to run for being president. I was thinking about being president. Because listen, this is during the time where Barack Obama, we had a black president. You know, I was inspired in high school because of his reign. Like in 1920, the spring of 2009, I ran for class president my junior year. For senior class president, I won. And he had got inaugurated that January for his first term. So I was too young to be able to vote for him in the first term, but I was able to vote for him, second term in 12. But all of that inspired me to go in a political direction. And then when I got to college, I really fell in love with understanding media and journalism. And I decided to declare my major comm, which shocked my family because they were like, "Wait a minute, no lawyer, no doctor, no lawyer." Because that was where I was headed. I was going to be a poli-sci major with a minor in international relations, I think, or something like that. But that was the track I was going to go on. And I took all these poli-sci classes. But the cool thing was my concentration at Penn through Annenberg, through my bachelor's in communications, there was a concentration called policy and practice. So I was able to transfer those poli-sci credits to that, and that was a part of my major. And then funny thing, my husband, he graduated from Penn and Edinburgh in communications and got the same discipline. Like he went that way. And now he is a communication director in City Hall. Like he actually used the degree for exactly the ideal position that they would say people would do. I used it to be a political journalist, which also was very helpful too. But nonetheless, it all started from somewhere, like all of these things. And then, 4 years of college, doing a radio show, doing that. I want to say in 2012, I had those great moments. I started writing for Ariana Huffington at the Huffington Post, all those great memories. And that began to be a thing where people was like, "Oh, you have a media empire." And that's where the term Ernest Media Empire came from, like that name, because that was the thing people were saying on campus. Because at that point, I had a radio show, I had a column, I had a TV show I was experimenting with, and I was writing blog. I was blogging nationally, and I was also doing some journalism stuff nationally and locally. And it was like all this other stuff going on. And I was doing this while I was in college. And so, yeah, I had a little media empire. That's why I called it. And that became the name of my company, which is Ernest Media Empire LLC. Um, but from where we started on campus, just printing out my own posters and promoting my radio show on people's doors and making commercials on YouTube to promote the said show, to now doing it like this. No overnight over here. There's been many years where people felt like I should have won at that year. But other people won that were just as deserving, most of them. But again, this year just felt really magical. And it's funny because someone was telling me the other day, it's like, I always feel like every year's your year. Listen, every year could be anybody's year as long as you do what you need to do and, shoot for your goals and have an era. I tell people I don't do years. I have eras. This is the era. This is the Ernest era. And I'm embracing it and doing the most I can with what I have and building from it and doing it. I don't do years. I do eras. Like everyone's like, oh, this is a great year. I'm like, but last year was a great year. Every year can be a great year if you make it. And so I call it an era. I'm in an era right now. I'm not the only one. Taylor Swift has the Eras tour. We're having eras here now. We having long standing takeovers and dominations. A year is just not enough. 365 is a great time, but we trying to have a movement, not just a moment. And so these past couple of years, I feel like have accumulated to this point where we're at now and where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to do. And so it's just I'm just taking it all in. I take a lot of time to myself to just relax and reflect. My house party was cool because that surprise party was dope. People just didn't even realize like how, I take some time on my rooftop to just reflect and just relax. And I love living in West Philly because it's not with all the loudness and the craziness, and I can be able to be at peace. So yeah, it's a lot, and I'm just grateful to be able to do the work that I do and the work that I love. People always say, "How do you do it all?" You know why? Because I'm independent. Because I work for myself, and I'm only investing in. I've been fortunate and blessed because let me be clear, it's not something that everyone can just do overnight. But I have been grateful that I took a lot of hits. This was not an easy. Oh, it's. I'm going to say this because I'm in my bag. But a lot of times it's easy for people who don't know me. And there are folks that know me and know my grind. I went through several years in the beginning of being clowned, being mocked. People was throwing shade on my name. How dare they? But this was not something, what I'm doing right now and how I'm doing it, it's great. People love it now. People be showing love. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I want to be clear that I went through hell and back to get the kind of life and the career that I have now. It has not been easy. It was never this glamorous and fun. It's gotten like that in the past 2 years. But it took a lot of years of rejection. And the thing is, I'm old enough and young enough to have a memory so tall and so long that I don't forget shit. Okay, like I'm in a place where I don't go back in the past and talk about what this person said and who did what. I don't do that. But let me be very clear, I don't forget. And when I came into this city, when I came into Penn, these ideas, my style, my personality, it was not popping then to people. There was let me be clear, I was not a unpopular person, but I was somebody that was also experienced the bias, the double standards of respect. Like if I was a straight man, a lot of things on that campus would have moved faster for me. And even in this industry, a lot of things would have moved faster had it not been for the racism and the homophobia I experienced. But I would always counter to myself and say that in those times where I felt like I should have got something, whatever, it wasn't the plan, because when I look at when it did come, it came at the best time. And I think a lot of times we just have to respect the process of life. That doesn't mean that you don't advance and defend yourself or whatever, but you just have to, recognize that if something does not happen when you think it should happen, that does not mean it's not going to happen. And that does not mean that you won't get showed up when it do. I've been showed up with times where I thought I should have got certain things. Everything comes when it's supposed to come, when you working and you doing it. And I look at this year specifically, it was meant, a lot of things that opened for me, I was in the right maturity level and emotional level to receive them in a way that did not feel overwhelming. I have a level of calm that I just cannot describe now. Compared to 7 years ago, 10 years ago, it would have been a different vibe. But I'm in a place now where I feel like I can celebrate these victories with real friends, with people who really like me for me and really really respect what I'm doing, why I do it, and don't see me as just a means to an end. I had to clean out my closet a couple of these past couple of years. There were people who were definitely around for the wrong reasons. There were definitely people that were just around because we've known each other for a long time. And you age out of relationships, you fall out of certain relationships when you realize that certain people are fake as fuck, and we got to be real about that. But the people I have now in my life and the way that I am moving with those people and how we're all growing and we're supporting each other and everyone's doing that elevation, that to me is the ideal situation. And now the things that I'm getting now and receiving, being honored with, it just feels even better because I'm around people that are also happy for me and have the best intentions. And I'm also in a place where I don't have imposter syndrome. Early in my career, when I was achieving a lot of momentous things, I had a little bit of that initially. But I shook that off a little sooner than later. Some people, imposter syndrome is something they've just been fighting for their entire life. Me, I'll say this. When I had got on the Forbes 30 under 30 list, which was a couple years ago, back in 2019, I was 28 then, 27, I think, when I got that. Yeah, I was 27, 2019, 28. I was 28 when I got it. I remember people, coming up to me being like, how do you feel? Yada, yada, yada. Oh my goodness, I'm surprised. That's wow. You got that. Wow. And for whatever reason, my mindset at that point was like, I fucking deserve this. Yeah, this makes sense. Why is everybody shocked that I got it? And I mean, it wasn't that, I think they weren't shocked because I didn't deserve it. I think they were shocked because institutions was acknowledging the work I was doing, how I was doing it. And I'm at a place now where I just believe that there will always be some real people in every space that's going to recognize real work and real game. And that even though we act like sometimes it is pay to play, that there is payola in these systems and fraudulence in these systems and all kind of shit behind the scenes, we should never let that stop us from thinking we deserve the things we deserve or pursuing certain things. I have been big lately on, I'm going to the highest limit with everything that I want. I'm not going to say I can't, because maybe it can't be for someone else, but maybe it could be for me. Do you ever think to yourself when you apply for something, to shoot your shot for something, everyone's always trying to tell you, well, this isn't usually going to happen, statistically this, statistically that. But I'm starting to realize I'm the motherfucking outlier to a lot of those statistics. Statistics say that people like me at my age, at my sexual orientation, should be dealing with all types of other, issues and barriers and crises. People would presume that I wouldn't have graduated on time, that I would have not even pursued a master's degree, that I would have not gotten a book deal, a 6-figure book deal at a major 4 publication before I was 30, that I would have not been married to another person on my level by 30. Those are things that were statistically impossible. But it happened. And we as people, especially Black people, especially as women and queer folk, we have a lot of people in our lives that are consistently trying to tell us what our limitations are, what we can do, how we can achieve. And that is saying something. You know what I'm saying? That is saying something. And we just have to stop. I don't do anymore. I don't take that. I don't receive those limitations in my life anymore. I go for the highest of the highest. I create work that is worthy of that type of acknowledgement. And so receiving these things, I am often humbled by them and gracious, but I'm also feeling victorious as well. And all of those things matter. And so I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, I just came off the chest because it's a lot of times where people will look and see the stuff I have and say, oh, must be nice. I hate that phrase, by the way. When people like must be nice, ugh, that sounds so hater-raid. But like outside of that part, people think they'll see all these good things and they'll just act like, oh, I'm just spoiled or I'm just so privileged. And oh, you're just, I see a lot of that snarkiness from I hear from people when they hear me talk about certain things. And I'm like, listen, I'm just being honest. I'm just telling you what I got going on. I ain't gonna hide it. I ain't gonna be on no subtleness about the shit. I mean, I'm not like out here like, acting like a rapper, but I'm also not about to be ashamed of the work that I've built and the fruits of my labor because, I'm in a world where I see so many rich white men run around here and act like they king of the world when they fucking not. Like Elon Musk, who ain't really built nothing, ain't really that as bright as people think he is, gets to walk around and people call him a boss and brilliant. And people idolize him like they idolize people like, the inventor of Apple, Steve Jobs, right? Mark Zuckerberg. Those men, not everybody, but a lot of people, right, be like, mad respect. They just, Jay-Z, for whatever it's worth, rumor in chief. Anyway, they get to run around and flex, and everybody likes it and lives for it and aspire to it. But let this black queer millennial who came and got it from the mud talk his shit and walk with swag, and there's got to be a humbling. There's got to be a humbling. You got to relax. You got to be able, fuck that. Life is too short. And there are young queer people, there are young black men, there are young queer people, non-binary folks out here who follow my social media and they see the good things I've done, the work that I do, and they're inspired by it. They feel like, wow, one day I could have a family. One day I could be married and have fun. One day I can be in a safe space with cishet folks and black and white folks that are caring and supportive. Those images and that matters to them because I didn't see that when I was growing up. I didn't see that when I was younger. I didn't have access to seeing young, attractive black men in love that were educated. I saw some black men in our community, but they were dating white people, white men. And there's no shade to that. Like, people can live their life and be interracial. But like, I didn't see black love for black queer men like myself. I didn't see Ernest Owens when I was 16 years old. I didn't see myself, I didn't see a person that lived like that. I knew tons of straight people that had fun parties and had all their friends and they had their boys, but they didn't see, there was no Lit Brothers. I didn't see a Lit Brothers when I was 16, 17 years old. I didn't see 4 incredible black queer men be friends and not be dating each other. We're just friends going and traveling and having fun and being our best selves and living out and proud. I didn't see that. And so when I see certain folks feel some type of way or feel like, oh, well, why I don't get to go? Why I don't get this? Why I don't get that? Because you know what? Sometimes black queer people want to have something for themselves. And sometimes we deserve the right to have a gatekeeping moment in a friendship and a bond. Sometimes we don't have to share everything we have. As a black queer person, I've spent a lot of my life having to be the aid and the appeal of cishet folks and their feelings and their issues and things. And let me be clear, that's voluntary, right? That's a choice as a friend, as a sibling, as a employee, as a lot of things. But in some circumstances, I want things for me. I believe black women should have their black women sisterhood circles. I think that brothers, they have their fraternities and their boys' gangs. And I want to have my Lit Brothers. And I want to just do that. And I think we have to recognize I have spent a good chunk of my adulthood in this industry. And the first half of that was people trying to modify me and refine me and straighten me out, quote unquote, literally and figuratively. And I wrestled with that. I wrestled very much with trying to figure out, do I assimilate? Do I, how do I fit in? And I'm in a space of prominence in my life where I'm like, I'm not trying to fit in. I'm not trying to do any more kissing the rings. I'm not doing any of that shit. I'm not modifying or tweaking who I am and what I believe and what I'm about for this larger mass of folks that's going to like it or not like it. But what I want to do is I want to be a possibility model, not just a role model. I say possibility model because I think that's the better thing, right? A possibility model for people that look like me, that come from where I come from, to see that it is possible to excel in spite of the bullshit, in spite of the hating, in spite of all of that, because there is a world of people that love you and see you and recognize you. And as somebody who's mentored a lot of youth over the years, I see so many of them, and I'm like, listen, hold on. Hold on. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your aspirations. Don't give up on all of the things, because it does get easier. It does get better. And so many of them have sent me letters. They'll send it to my office downtown and just send me notes and tell me how they're doing. Some of them are in college now, and they just waited because some of them were willing to give up their life. I don't say that lightly. Some people have considered suicide. Not myself, but others I know have considered not being here because they just felt isolated. They felt, like this didn't matter. And they weren't around people that were encouraging, right? Like you will see people who were on the outside looking in. You would think, oh, their life is together. They're doing well. But deep down inside, they couldn't live their truth or be as out as they want, or they was wanting to come out, but then they were scared of, okay, but do I have any friends? Is there anyone, a mentor? Is there anyone that will be there to guide me or help me through navigating this, especially with our Black and brown men? Like, there is no, roadmap or blueprint a lot of the times. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. And I know those subtle moments, that suffering in silence, those decisions, that, feeling of, I got to tone it down. I got to, change up this, or I don't want to make others uncomfortable. You don't know what that feels like to hear that being said to you when you're just being yourself, right? Like, I navigate a lot of that bullshit. And, therapy is essential, talking to people, life coaches, all these different professionals. I'm a big proponent of therapy. Dr. Parks is, she'll tell people all the time, don't try to be therapy for your friends, go get professional. But everybody, can't afford it in that way, right? And we got to open those doors for folks to get resources like that. But there are places, like you got that, the Attic Youth Center, other spaces that is providing people that. And so I have, been in spaces where I've reflected a lot on my life and what I've wanted of it and where I want to be. And I'm at a place where I'm, every time you think it's too late, I'm right on time, being right on time at where I want to be able to be intentional about what I want to do and how I want to do it. And I just think for people who are listening, this might resonate with some of y'all. This might connect with some of y'all. Maybe some, not all, maybe all, who knows? But I say this to say, lean into your intentionality. Take that time. There's always going to be something more, but take the time to smell the roses the way that you want to smell them. And that's all I got to say on that. Other things, the podcast has gotten over 75,000 monthly downloads. We have hit the 75,000 monthly downloads. It's kind of like Spotify, but I don't have Spotify banded. But Buzzsprout, who is the provider that helps distribute my podcast, they sent me a celebratory graphic at the 75,000 monthly mark. So 75,000 people. You are 75,000 people. I felt it recently because the ads, I was like, oh, we got some subscribers. This is a self-monetizing independent podcast, okay? I don't charge you off for subscriptions, but I'm sitting here looking like, if I charge y'all $1 a month for this podcast, I'm just gonna say, would y'all do it for $1? 50 cents. 50 cents. You know what I'm saying? just monthly. Ooh. But I'm not charging y'all because I'm a man of my word. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be greedy. But I was like, what if I charge y'all $1? But no, I don't. I wanted to make it accessible for people. But I was sitting there looking like 75,000 a month. So that's why these jokers on here, the Joe Buttons and them. Because I know Joe Budden and them got hella podcast subscribers. They got hundreds of thousands, probably a million. I know they making bank over there because do they charge people? I don't think they charge people either. But it's the ad revenue that helps not charge people. But I was like, ooh, just $1. But no, this is good stuff. We gonna push through. My goal next year, I want to get over 100,000. We got to hit the 6-figure mark. It's been 3 years. I've been building this podcast up for. It's going to be 3 years in December since the podcast conception. We're going to get it close to 3 years, y'all, doing it. So we've been building, but I want to get to 100,000. I want to get to 100,000. Let's, we got to keep it going. Keep spreading the word. Keep subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But I feel the love. I'm so excited. Thank you. So let's get into this week, the hot topics, because there are some things. You all saw the titles. Y'all know what's going on over here in our world. A lot is happening. But what we will talk about is that that the Trump trial is happening. The New York Attorney General, our fave in New York, Letitia James, Tish James, she's coming out. New York trial's happening. So the news everyone's talking about is Michael Cohen, who's now the arch enemy of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen used to work for him. The T was initially is that, apparently he was going to be the star witness at the ex-president's ongoing bank fraud trial. So Cohen has surprised the New York Attorney General's office in an exclusive. That was from the Daily Beast. I love the lovely folks at Daily Beast. They broke an exclusive over the weekend and basically said that Cohen surprised the New York Attorney General's office by potentially canceling his court appearance this week. He claims it's a medical issue. That's according to 2 sources familiar with the situation. But Cohen, he used to be Trump's trusted legal advisor. He took the fall for Trump, the president's hush money payoff to that porn star Stormy Daniels and the other porn star Karen McDougal, among other things. He spent a combined 3 years in federal prison and he was under house arrest. He took the fall for Trump. Now he's been disbarred, of course, but he's flipped on Trump. He is spending recent years. He's been publishing books. He's been hosting a podcast. He's been helping prosecutors, all in the service of trying to expose Trump, baby. He said, look, if I spent my time behind bars, so will you. Because now at this point, the goal is to put Trump in jail. That's what the energy is giving. That's what the T is giving y'all. That's what they're saying. But apparently they're saying that Cohen was due to appear in the high stakes court case because of, pursuant to a subpoena. But he can't get out of his scheduled testimony so easily, though. He's going to have to provide a doctor's note, okay? Because his last minute switcheroo was forced by his attorney, this last minute switcheroo has forced Attorney General Letitia James and Trump's defense team to scramble to figure out how to keep this marquee trial moving forward on pace. That's what the source is saying. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen because they're trying to get this through, but apparently a lot has been happening. So this is what Cohen has said to the Daily Beast. He said, unfortunately, I need to attend a pre-existing medical condition that impedes my ability to testify this upcoming week. Rest assured, I will testify at the earliest opportunity. So a testimony will be happening. In his first book, he had said that he had serious hypertension problems and pre-existing blood clotting conditions that resulted in multiple hospital visits. He also, in conversation, said he has a heart condition. So we got to keep him alive and well. Stay alive, Michael Cohen. We need you to testify. We need you to get this settled, okay? We need you, okay? I've never prayed for a white man's health so much in my life, but I need Michael Cohen to be in good health, get that heart right. Doctors, protect him at all costs between now and his ability to testify in this grand jury. Like, this is important. So, other news that's been going on because the politics won't stop politicking. This GOP race is ridiculous. I just want to say for the record, there's been a lot of clownery and buffoonery that's been taking place. Of course, a CNN pundit has blamed the Democrats for the GOP speaker chaos. And, a lot of people are blaming the Democrats, saying the Democrats should have got behind and kept Kevin McCarthy. Fuck out of here. That ain't happening. But a lot of people are just basically saying that this has been a clown show for the next speaker. A lot of stuff has been going on. Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who I told you all I thought was going to be the one. He has his issues, but he dropped out the race on last Thursday, on my birthday, after realizing he couldn't bulldoze his way to victory. He assumed that Republicans would fall in line. So now the runner-up, which is Jim Jordan, who had Donald Trump's endorsement for this position, he quickly assumed the frontrunner's mantle. But unfortunately, the math was not mathing on Friday morning either. He has the same math problem. So apparently Jordan, had won the nomination for Speaker delegate, and delegate, I guess, is delegate. But it was ultimately amassing a reported 124 votes to a 7-term Georgia Rep. Austin Scott's 81 votes. But whether he will win the crown is another matter. So he got 124 votes because they wanted Congressman of Georgia, Austin Scott. He had 81 votes, Austin Scott did, but Jim Jordan got 124 votes. Now, in a conference of 221 Republicans, any presumptive speaker can only lose 4 to 5 votes to command a majority of the majority in a chamber where the votes of Democrats are not counted or wanted. So he can only lose between 4 to 5 votes. It's a lot. And the math is not mathing. He needs to have, y'all, 217. And that's in a snake pit. He's going to need 217 votes. I don't see it happening, y'all. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. Because McCarthy's gone. And there was deals that was made. And Jim Jordan is now the front runner. But the math ain't mathing. And I don't know what's going to happen between now and, the 2024. But let me tell you something. What's important about this. What this tells me, and what I can see the Democrats, maybe the Democrats want them to be in chaos. Because what it's going to show to the public, and what it's showing to me, I already know, because I'm not voting, clearly I'm not voting, Republican. But here's what I want y'all to know. What this is telling me is that all of these votes are not necessarily up. I'm sorry. I don't think he's going to get it. I don't know how he makes that leap. That's a long leap. And these Republicans are stubborn as bull's piss. And so this plays into the trap of the Democrats because the Democrats can advantage this and say, look at the Republicans. They're not united. Because I remember there was a time where Democrats used to fight about not being divided. The progressives versus the liberals, yada, 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 the moderates and them too. And so there was a weird moment in time where everybody was like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. But now the Democrats are getting in line and uniting behind Biden, respectfully. But the Republicans are infighting. And there's no leadership. They're lacking leadership and direction. So the rest of the country is watching this unfold. And I wonder to myself, what I'm wondering to myself is the reality that, oh my goodness, these people might be dealing with this until election season next year. And voters are going to take a step back and go, maybe some of these voters will say, listen, we could elect new Republicans or reelect these idiots, but they're still going to be fighting. They could even keep their House Speaker. Democrats would never. Nancy Pelosi would never. We're seeing the consequences of what happens when you have entrenched, fringed groups that can't in unison. They're going to eat themselves alive. And God willing, it happens soon and swift. So, yeah. Now, one of my favorite things I've been waiting to talk about, because I've been waiting to talk about this man. And y'all might know who this man is. He's a member of the LGBTQ community. and he is a hot ass ghetto mess. So George Santos, Congressman George Santos, had a complete meltdown. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with him, but on Friday afternoon, he had a mess over there in Capitol Hill. There's a man in police custody. There's a baby involved. There's a lot. There's this man he identified. His name is Shabib Khalissa. I'm not pronouncing his name, but he was basically he was identified by the cops. This man has been in police custody. George Santos called him a human scum for asking him questions critical about Israel's bombings in Gaza, because there's a lot of there's a lot of tension in the Middle East. So Santos claimed the man had aggressively confronted him earlier. He was holding a 2-month baby in his arms. We don't know whose baby it was and why he was holding the baby. It's a lot going on with Santos. But Santos was going off. Capitol Police had to come. They said the 36-year-old man was arrested and charged with simple assault after an officer witnessed him have physical contact with a congressional staffer in the Longworth building. The staffer was not identified, so we don't know if it was actually George Santos. But a lot of stuff was going on. He was talking about the Jewish community. He was, but let's talk about why George Santos did that, because he's a stunt queen. He's a stunt queen. I don't trust him at all. He's a stunt queen, calling people human scum, having a meltdown, holding a mystery baby we ain't never heard of. He's getting in shouting matches. People are mocking him. He's a whole clown. And so, yeah, it's a lot going on with him, but here's what we know, which is the most important thing that people should actually take seriously. This is the stuff that I'm personally trying to grapple. But here's the tea. George Santos said last week, I didn't even know what the hell the FEC was, is what he said. This last week, federal prosecutors unveiled 10 more charges against him, which is part of a 23-count superseding indictment that alleged that George Santos, who's a Republican, who represents a part of Long Island, which is called Wrong Island, but some people like Kruger call it Strong Island. He was engaged in a criminal scheme to defraud donors of his campaign. Now, his first indictments by Justice Department happened back in May. I think we talked about it on the podcast briefly, but he's in more trouble. These new charges are connected to wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and access device fraud. Okay, these prosecutors are saying that George Santos allegedly stole his donor's credit card information so he could transfer more than $10,000 to his personal bank account and then another $50,000 to buy designer goods and pay off personal debts. But then he also apparently, and this is allegedly, reported a fake $500,000 loan as a way to convince the Republicans that he was rich and get them to donate to his campaign. Child, if you thought Joanne the scammer was somebody, child, meet this man. George Santos, of course, have denied these allegations. He is claiming that he says he will not resign, and he has said that he didn't see the new charges detailed in the new indictment, but he did tell people initially when this came out, he was saying that he was in the GOP conference meeting. He apparently told reporters, he rushed into his office, slammed the door on reporters. Reporters stay doing this. And let me be clear, the charges were released while he was in a GOP conference meeting on Capitol Hill. So that measurement adds up. He also added, and he told one reporter, I did not have access to my phone. I have no clue what you guys are talking about, which is what he said when the new charges happened. He didn't even know this had happened. He said he didn't even know what the hell the FEC was. And if you don't know what the FEC is, it is the Federal Election Commission. Okay, and Santos had told the reporters the charges were quote unquote bullshit, and that he had no control over his his campaign finances, and he never touched any of the reports his campaign filed with the FEC. He said he's like I don't know what their system was like other than going on Google, and I think like all of you might know, FEC.gov. Looking and seeing who's donating to who and whatnot. That's what he said, according to the New York Post. He was like, he doesn't even know what the FEC is. Child, listen, the Department of Justice, okay, the DOJ, has accused him of a host of illegal activities. They're saying that he's stealing public funds, there's money laundering, there's lying on federal disclosure forms. He has pleaded not guilty to the original charges. Y'all, it's going down George Santos, who is playing him in a biopic. I remember this because we were talking about who would play him in a biopic. He is just a fascinating, interesting person. I want to say fascinating fraud, but he has not been convicted, so I have to pipe down. But there is a lot going on, you know, and I just, I just have to take it all in stride. Um, but it's a lot. It's a lot. So, interesting things going on in City Council that I want to talk about. City Council is taking on leveling in public schools. There is a big controversy right now with leveling in public schools around City Council. City Council members like Catherine Gilmore Richardson and others are talking about this issue. Now, for those who don't know how the Philadelphia public school systems work and what leveling oftentimes is when a teacher who's in one classroom has to be moved to another classroom to address an inequity in size of scale. So if there's a lack of a teacher gap, they put a teacher in, and basically that teacher is there for a period of time to do it. So let me explain what this is. This is a very controversial Philadelphia school district practice, but it's happening in other places. And I want people to be clear about what happens. So the way it works is that schools that have an unexpectedly large classes, they get new staff, and at schools such as the Henry Houston Elementary School in West Mount Airy, where fewer students than anticipated show up, teachers are cut and moved. And so the alternative would be to leave smaller class sizes at unenrolled schools and hire extra teachers for those with bigger than expected numbers of students. Leveling doesn't happen in the majority of school districts, though Philadelphia is not the only one in the country that do it. There's others that do, but there's a lot. So far, 59 schools lost teachers. And that's because of this whole leveling situation. But there's a lot of people that feel like this needs to be addressed. There was a story in the Philadelphia Inquirer by Kristen Graham that came out earlier in October, basically talking about a young lady who spent a month getting used to classroom routines, loving her teacher at Henry Houston Elementary in West Miami. But apparently things changed because two of her fifth grade classes collapsed into one, and then she got a brand new teacher. And she's not happy because one, she has to have a bigger class. And then two, she's got to have a new teacher because this enrollment issue does that. That happens. And it's considered controversial because it basically disrupts and uproots students' quality education, because now they're going to have more kids, and then they're going to have a new teacher. And if you bonded with one teacher, you got to bond with a new teacher. And this is happening with young people. So there's a lot of frustration there for certain, given everything that's happened. So, we've seen a lot of that kind of stuff take place. And yeah, I find it very interesting, for the very least. Seeing some of the stuff that people, the issues of families. So city council people have had a lot of different thoughts, and it's not. It's very interesting, seeing how some people have been, and yeah, I've seen, lots of problems, lots of concerns around it. Because whether you're a city council member or a regular parent or mother who have a child, to have kids being in situations like that is a lot. And I can see it. So, Philadelphia city council members came hot and heated. But I'm going to tell you some interesting things that I got from my experience. I spoke with the superintendent. I got to interview Tony Wallington, and he came as a special guest to the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists meeting. And we had a conversation about his work. We had a really great conversation. I just want to say this about him. Dr. Tony Wallington, he is from the South. He's an alpha. He's a single man, or he's not married. Let me say that, because just because you're not married doesn't mean you're single. But according to my mother, you're single until you're married. But that's another stuff for another day. But he's not married. Good looking guy, nice man, middle aged. Really nice guy. Wears really nice suits. Got good swagger. he was talking very much about his passion about the school district, very smart, very strategic. I want to say that I am, and I'm not trying to compare because this might be a lot, but I'm going to say this. I am more impressed with him than Dr. Height. Dr. Height was a great education leader. He's great. He used to be over at Prince George's County before he came to Philadelphia. But Tony Wallington is so smart and strategic and very thorough and very accessible. You ask him a question, he's going to give you a full-fledged answer. And let me tell you, that comes very rare because a lot of times the goal is talk less. Less can be more. But for him, he's very transparent. He reminds me, well, I see a little bit of myself in him. Like I see him in me. He leans into discomfort to dispel it. It's a very strong leadership trait, and it's something that I do too. And I peep game, and I was like, oh, I fucks with him. I really do think he is doing the best he can, and I really think he thinks things through. He really, you ask him a question, and he's going to answer on all angles, and he's not shying away from anything. And he answered questions that were not given to him before the public. It was not given to him before. He did not know any of the questions that were coming. He didn't know my questions. He didn't know the questions of the journalists that were there. He did not know. And he answered every single one of them with the most utmost thought and consideration. No matter what the question was, he was very thorough. I was highly impressed with him. He's not. I know he's not an elected official, but when you see people in those type of positions of prominence, you just never know what you're going to get. But I was very much, appreciate him, and I really do think that this man is really thinking about all of the decisions he's making. One of the things, the takeaways that I want you all to know, and what he said to me and stood out, was that he said that less than 1% of the schools in Philadelphia are impacted by this leveling issue. He says, now, while no one should experience leveling and that it can be difficult, it is something that they have to do when these enrollments are low. Like there is no other economically feasible way he thinks he can do it right now. But the one thing that he said to me, and I asked him this about politicians and their diatribes and their speeches and their talks about the public education issue. He says, what are they going to do to address the teacher pipeline issue in Pennsylvania? There is a massive teacher shortage. There is a lack of people wanting to become teachers. There requires state funding in Harrisburg to raise the pay and the quality of education in public education. And it requires city council members to also intervene and be a part of it. Politicians lobbying to do better, to increase it, to make it sexier for teachers, for people to want to be teachers. Because here's the thing, you see these news reports about all the bad things happening in the school district. But here's some good things happening in the school district. The school district's credit rating has increased within a year by Moody. Moody Investments, the rating score for the school, the credit rating, whatever the score is with Moody, has increased. It's beyond average at this point. It's being done well. They've had the highest attendance rates for students across the board. They're seeing an increase in student attendance and participation. They've also have noticed an increase in math and science scores with lower grade levels. Now, high school, it gets a little harder, but we're seeing progress in middle school and elementary with kids on their math performance and their English and things. It's going up, and high school is needing some improvements, but the future looks bright with our younger children. And so he's working, but we got to remember that work that we're asking of the school district and the superintendent, we got to also hold politicians accountable to just stop talking. You got to get serious. Yes, you all create a budget that helps them with their budget, but you also got to recognize that there's so many other factors that needs to be addressed. And the biggest one is this teacher pipeline. How do they plan to work to get the teacher pipeline together? Dr. Wallington had told me, Superintendent Wallington was like, listen, he's trying to do programs with Temple. He's trying to reach out to Cheney. He's trying to build like a middle school he was speaking about where people who are interested in education, interested in being a teacher, they would go through this program and they would walk out with certifications and also will walk out tuition free for college. Like basically they would get accepted to a college and they would have tuition free and they would be on the pathway to becoming a teacher. There's all types of money and ways that he is trying to really bring in that energy and that juice. And so I just really think, I know a lot of people got a lot of things to say, but I do think this is talking to him about public education in Philadelphia, hearing his questions, hearing his thoughts. He's doing what he can, and it's easy to be on the outside saying fix this, fix that, but also there's a lot of limitations and checks and balances that does engage state power. So it's going to be more conversations, but I just really think city council members, I get people upset and I get the frustrations and the impact that it has on their kids. But, we got to get out of this until it happens to you mentality when it comes to politics, where, oh, this happened to me or mine or my cousin or whatever. Now I'm going to speak out against it. I want to say, like, we think about Sharif Street, State Senator Sharif Street, when one of his nephews or whatever was impacted by gun violence, you saw him then stop everything, have a rally, speak on it, whatever. And I'm not saying that the senator does not care about gun violence at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that why does it have to take a personal, inflection point for you to be motivated to finally say or do the thing? Because there's a lot of people that have been fucked by the Philadelphia school district forever, in the schools forever, in the streets forever, in the gun violence forever. And it's like, why do we have to wait until something happened to one of y'all before you are propelled to give that speech? We need to be giving these speeches regularly. We need to be keeping the same energy regularly. And there are people, right? I was on Philadelphia City Council Live, of course, on WRD 96.1 FM 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media. I was on that show and I had the real conversations. And I'm telling you that listeners and Black Philadelphians who've been here are tired of the same performative shit. We gotta do some other things. So we're gonna see what happens now that they're hot and bothered. We're gonna see where they're gonna go with it. But speaking of city council, okay, council member Kenyatta Johnson, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer, which we're gonna have a little talk about them too. Let me put them in my notes. I got an update for y'all on that. Oh yes. Yes. Let me put this in the docket. Okay, back on the docket. So Kenyatta Johnson, they're saying, is a front runner for city council president. Apparently, it's looking like the formerly indicted council member is now going to be potentially the next council president. Now, mind you, January 1st during inauguration, the first week of January, when the inauguration for the new mayor, the new city council, and all those people get together, we will officially know at that time who will be the council president. Remember, this is October. Anything can happen between now and early January. So I see people trying to put out that in the press that he's the front runner, he's this. He ain't gonna be any of the things until the things are thinking and people finally get it. Because let me say this, in any given, year when we did not know what would have happened with council presidents, I would have said, yeah, Kenyatta's going to get it. It's over, y'all. It's a wrap. But because Kenyatta is always in some shit, and I look, that man is, I have the utmost respect for this man as a man in the community. He's a great father. He's a loving husband. I will never take that away from him personally. But politically, that man be in some shit. And so I'm not saying I don't see it, but what I'm saying is that I remember earlier this summer in the summer it was a story that came out about his connect. Now it wasn't about him directly, but it was connected, right? Somebody he used to deal with that was in some headlines. I just feel like how many shoes might drop, what other surprises might come, what other distractions might get in the way. We just don't know with him. Like, you just don't know what could fall. And so it's too early for me to say it. But Curtis is trying to get the votes, but it looks like Curtis is not getting them. There seems to be some issues internally. I know some things, but I can't share them things yet. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening internally with the race. And so I don't know if Curtis is going to be able to pull it off. I don't know if Kenyatta is going to. I don't know how all of these people are going to move because there's been so much backbiting and friction and things. One of the things that's been getting on my nerves when I go to City Hall every Thursday now is that you get, every time, Curtis Jones speaks, Kenyatta got to say something. Every time Kenyatta say something, Curtis want to say something. And they go in this, like, I don't want to say dick measuring contest. I don't want to say that. I want to be respectful. But they have an ego trip amongst each other. And everyone sees it because they always, let me add this. And they all do this little posturing and grandstanding. And it eats up about 20 to 25% of the entire council session. Is like speeches from either one of them. And half the time, it don't even be legislation they proposed. It'd be somebody else's, but they got to add in a little story. They got to tell this little narrative, and they got to, and it's like, can y'all stop? Listen, at the end of the day, we know how y'all gonna get y'all seats. And it ain't got nothing to do about speeches and rhetoric and prose. We know what y'all gonna have to do to get them seats, whatever backdoor deals, whatever, politicking y'all gonna have to do, because don't act like I don't know. I seen the receipts. But all I'm going to say is we know what y'all got to do to try to get what y'all going to get. And it's going to be whoever got the campaign, whoever got the most war chest to pull it off. They saying Kenyatta got it, looking like he might got it, but I don't want to sleep on Curtis Jones Jr. because he might have it too. But the two of them, all I want to say, and y'all can go back and tell them because this is a public podcast, can y'all please stop giving all these goddamn long speeches, especially when it don't be about nothing. Okay? We, the people, want to, move on. So I want to move on. So before I get into that, though, I want to talk about the Philadelphia Inquirer. Child, they in some mess. I know y'all saw my tweet. I gave y'all that tea. Let me tell you about that tea, because that tea was teeing. That tea was hot. That tea was hot. It was hot tea. And I had to sit back and I had to relax. Because there was a lot going on. Okay? A lot was going on. So I want y'all to see, let me tell y'all what the tea is. So it said, so on Friday 13th, I was wondering, I had my party on Friday 13th, so I was a little worried. I was like, is my party going to be ruined by Friday 13th? No, actually, it was Friday 13th, and guess who's playing Jason? The Philadelphia Inquirer. Here is a statement from the publisher and CEO of the Philadelphia Inquirer, Lisa Hughes. She said, Kendra Lee, our vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion, has resigned from her position at the Inquirer. Her last day will be today, Friday, October 13th. Kendra accomplished a great deal in her time at the Inquirer. She was instrumental in launching our DE&I page, expanded and built inclusive training programs, and was a valued resource for many of our employees. The Inquirer is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of our strategic plan and reflected in our annual company goals. To that end, we are formulating a recruiting strategy to find a replacement for the VP DEI role, and in the interim, our DEI work will be managed by Laura Kaufman, Senior Vice President for People and Culture. The company-wide DEI update, which was scheduled for October 18th, will now be part of our company third quarter progress report on October 24th at 11 a.m., and we encourage all employees to attend. Lisa Hughes, publisher and CEO of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Whoa, well. What do we have here? So let me just tell you that letter is a bunch of bullshit. Let's get to the bottom of the facts. The DEI person, clearly that was an abrupt departure. First of all, let me tell y'all corporate lingo. Anytime a person announces a resignation and then the last day is on the day that the resignation is announced, that don't really sound like a resignation to me. Personally, I think someone was fired, but they probably gave her I can imagine, I'm making an assumption. This is not rooted in any actual facts, but based on the information, this is an interpretation. I can imagine the possibility that they probably let her go. And I think they probably gave her a cute little severance package, potentially. Or some NDA that she signed not to whistleblow. But there was something going on. And I'm going to tell you what I know to be fact, because I always have receipts. So here's what I know. Because now that she's no longer in a position, I can confirm some of these details. What I know is that during the Online News Association conference and convention that was in Philadelphia, it was at the Marriott, it was in Philadelphia in the summer, we went through, PABJ was one of the sponsors, right? Kendra Lee, who of course, did not like me, we had a little falling out. She apparently took Asian journalists out to dinner, to have a dinner, an outing. And according to some of the Asian journalists, AAPI journalists that was at that dinner during that convention, they felt being as if they were being intimidated to encourage the AAJA, which is the Asian Journalist Association, Asian American Journalist Association of Philadelphia. They were trying to discourage those people to put pressure on their organization not being a part of JAWN. Now, for those who don't remember JAWN, JAWN is JAWN, the Journalism Accountability Watchdog Network. That is the collaboration between PABJ, which is the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, AJ Philly, which is the Asian American Journalist Association of Philly, and NAHJ Philly, which is the National Hispanic Journalism Association Philly. We all formed a pact. The three of us affinity groups are racial affinity groups. We formed a pact, right? And it's called JAWN. And we work together with the Free Press to really address diversity, equity, and inclusion concerns. Now, I don't know if you are aware or remember, but earlier in May, we put out a letter of zero confidence in the Philadelphia Inquirer's leadership around addressing diversity, equity, inclusion after we had a meeting in May with the publisher and also with the chairman of the Linfest Foundation, Keith Leaphart, who's Black. He is on the board of the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he's on the board of the Linfest Institute. The two of them had a meeting with myself, the president of AJ Philly, and the president of NHA Philly. And it was a very interesting conversation. I will not delve into the details of what was had, but it was a very heated meeting. And the meeting did not end on a good note. But what I will tell you is what came out of that conversation, what we took back to what we want the community to know, is that there was no honoring of the past things that we agreed on in our 2-year agreement that we had 2 years ago with the Inquirer. There was a group, plan. We worked with the Inquirer editor-in-chief and the publisher and their, at the time, DI director, which was Jamil Rush, who left after being there for a little over a year. We're going to get back to what happened there. But we were all there. And one of the things that really, really pissed me off was that they didn't want to honor any of the previous promises that we jointly made in our agreement. We had an MOU, we had all the things, and they did not agree to them. And so the new plan was for them to basically have us being an ambassador for the DEI things they were doing, the projects they were doing. But we were like, we're not going to champion or promote any DEI initiatives that does not have our input. Like, why are we not able to share and give feedback and input on these projects before they launch? She did not want to do that. And that is Lisa Hughes. She did not want us to do that. She made the claim that, they have a business to run and, they run and operate. And it just seemed to be a tug of war on recognizing that you cannot do DEI internally without outside support and also local affinity groups. That's not how it's done. Other newsrooms across this city and this region works with affinity groups to help advise, because we know you all don't have the numbers, the respect and the credibility and the competence to execute this by yourselves. We know that for a fact. And so with the departure of Kendra Lee, who was somebody who tried to also get on the bandwagon of this shit, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that this was going to play out the way it was, because you cannot internally address racism. You cannot do this internally without help. And so we see this happen with the police department, where they want to address these issues in-house without no outside intervention. And that's why they still have a racism problem, a white supremacy problem, a bigotry problem, because you're trying to, you cannot be the solution and the problem at the same damn time. If you're the Inquirer and you have a problem, how do you fix the problem from within? If you knew how to do that, you would have not had the problem. So we see this issue. We see this hypocrisy. We see this bullshit. And these are the things that lead into other problems. And so now, here they are, once again. And let me tell you why this is a moment. Kendra Lee got this job last August, August of 2022. She was very brand new. I was one of the people that she spoke to at length before she got the job. And I gave her advice. We had a 90-minute, 2-hour conversation. I told her all the things that were the issues with the Inquirer. And then when she got that position, she kind of ghosted me. She kind of avoided me. She just basically reached out to other folks of color that was not black, that was not me, to talk to them. And she did not engage me once she got the job. She got real brand new. And then after I had to shame her, basically telling her that what she did was anti-black, that you would talk to everybody else and not speak to me, and want to talk to John members separately and not engage the group. And the fact that you skipped the black leader of the Black Journalism Association, do that is hella anti-black. Kendra Lee is she is a member of the AAPI community, and the members of my group recognize the anti-blackness in those types of avoidances. She never was engaging me, and I emailed her, and when we had the conversation, it was a microaggression. We had a Zoom call. She brought in another senior communications person, which with the other leaders, she didn't do that. So when she spoke to the AJA member, she had a phone conversation that was casual. She didn't have anybody else on the call. With me, it was a Zoom call. It was scheduled. The comms director was there. The shit felt like really fucked up. Like it was like all of these other things. And she had this agenda that she was trying to stick to. And she was trying to basically dodge any of the concerns and questions I raised. And she was reading off a fucking piece of paper and was repeating herself to avoid saying anything to me. And I said, you know what? This is some bullshit. And I snapped, y'all. I was not here for it. I said, this is very microaggressive. I am very uncomfortable. This is gaslighting. This letter that they wrote, I said, this is all problematic. Oh, I told them off. And the next time I saw her was in November of 2022 at the PABJ Gala. She bought tickets. They bought tickets and invited their members, and the executive director came. The executive editor. Yes, the editor-in-chief of the Inquirer, Gabe Escobar. They came. They sat in the back rows. When they came to the gala, they did not speak to me, even though I'm the president. They didn't speak to most of our leadership. They stood to themselves and acted sedity. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, so you thought you could buy some tickets to show face to window dress DEI, but you wasn't going to address the elephant in the room and the problems that we was having? So they got the thumbs down award by surprise. And they got that heat. And you know what? I don't regret doing it. It was one of the most badass things I've done in my career, and I don't regret doing it. Because at the end of the day after day after day, they proved themselves to be exactly who I knew they were and how they were. And now she's gone. And I remember, I think I told her, I said, let me tell you something. I've been doing this DEI work, this advocacy work for a long time. And many people, just like you, was in your position, some senior executive role, working for these white people, and thought that when you saw a black man like me challenge you, that you knew more than me and that you was better than me. And your superiority complex had you thinking that you was going to outpace me. And I said in that meeting in front of them people, I said, let me tell you something. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've been here for a long time. And people like you, listen, I have been here before you and I will be here after you. You will not last in this position because the way the system is set up institutionally, these DEI positions were never meant to keep people like you there. It is the worst position to have in any corporation. And anybody who works in nonprofit world knows in companies and corporations, the DEI position is always the first to hire, the last to hire, the first to fire. They get these people and then they exploit them and they replace them. This position, y'all, has been around in existence for about maybe 4 to 5 years. Do you know that they've already have had 3 people in this position in the past 5 years? They've had 2 DEI VPs replaced within 2 years. This is a masthead position, a 6-figure paid job, and yet these people can't stay there no longer than a year. What's wrong? I thought the job was good. I thought y'all was making progress. I thought things were fine. I knew it. You know why? Because my members are your staff. And John's members are your staff. And we hear everything. We hear all the tea. We heard about her allegedly using a company card to take these AAPI journalists for dinner to try to discourage them not to be members of John. And they felt like that was intimidation, and they took that and reported that up top to another group. Oh, yes. There was an investigation allegedly. There was suspicious things being heard. I try to tell people, listen, don't listen. When you're on the right side of history, you don't got to worry because you're on the right side of history. Period. Period. He said, vengeance will be mine. There you go. So in other sad news, I guess it's sad news, but I get, the streets are talking. Washington Post layoffs. That's what's being said. The Washington Post will offer buyouts to cut staff by 240. So people are talking about this. They said, don't overthink the grim news. They're saying that people shouldn't overthink the grim news is what the people are saying, but there's so many reports. So I want to make sure I'm just getting to the meat. The Washington Post apparently is planning to cut 240 jobs through the offering of voluntary buyouts, is what they announced last week. The email to staff said that the Post had been overly optimistic about growth projections for the past 2 years and into 2024. They said, we are working to find ways to return our business to a healthier place in the coming year. Now, apparently the CEO, which is Patty Stonesifier, I'm ruining her name, but apparently Miss CEO Patty said that the buyouts would be offered to certain jobs and departments, but didn't specify which ones. And apparently eligible employees will be notified after an all-staff meeting which was last Wednesday. She said it can later choose to decline or accept the separation package in the coming weeks. Apparently, this is also being said, a much larger group of employees will receive the offer, but acceptances will be capped at approximately 240 people. So they're only going to give this opportunity to 240 people. She added that the company was taking the voluntary buyout route in efforts to avert more difficult actions like layoffs, which is a situation they are united in trying to avoid. So these incoming, cuts would impact about, they said, 10% of the Washington Post's 2,500 person staff. And they said that there were previous but smaller reductions seen at the company not long ago. They had major layoffs, late last year. Earlier 2023, they cut back. They even ended their Sunday magazine, which was really popular. The Washington Post Guild, the union, wrote that they were infuriated by this decision and they are concerned for, quote, our dedicated, brilliant colleagues. They're really upset. They're just saying they cannot, this is what the union had said, the Washington Post Guild said, that they cannot comprehend how the Post, which is owned by one of the richest people in the world, Jeff Bezos, of course, the Amazon CEO, has decided to voice the consequences of its incoherent business plan and irresponsibility irresponsibly rapid expansion onto the hardworking people who make this company run. That's what they said on a statement that they shared on Twitter. Now, there's a lot going on because people are just really angry. Patty, CEO to Patty, she became the interim CEO after the longtime publisher left in June. Now, Ryan was at the helm. Now, his name was Fred Ryan. He was the helm of the publication for a decade, pretty much, nearly a decade. He got the job, was appointed 1 year after Amazon founder Jeff Bezos purchased the Washington Post in 2013. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, which is very concerning for several reasons. But apparently he pissed off a lot of people when he was there. Ryan did. When he refused to take questions about layoffs at his own company's journalists, from his own company's journalists at a news meeting. And apparently the New York Times in July said that the Washington Post, interesting enough, is on track to lose $100 million this year. So there's a lot of job posts. I mean, the print media is not playing any games. There's been many other media publications that have seen job cuts in recent months. In June, the Los Angeles Times said last week that they were cutting some 10% of their newsroom staff. And the NPR also said the same thing earlier this year. Gannett also laid off hundreds of journalists, last year. So there's a lot of major media layoffs. The industry is changing. And, people like myself, like I told y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot. But in other news, There is a lot because I'm ready to have this conversation. Last week I told you I was hearing some things about Josh Kruger. That was that journalist who died, who was killed. People say murdered. Any word. But I said I didn't want to get too much into the weeds. I just said, look, these are the things I was hearing. But I didn't want to speak ill on the day at the time. I was trying to not be so quick to throw out judgment. But the tea is hot and the stuff is real. And for the past week or so, there was a lot of Philadelphians that were grieving about Josh Kruger, who was shot and killed at his Point Breeze home on October 2nd. And he's written for various publications. He freelanced for Philly Mag. He has written for the Inquirer, the Philadelphia Citizen, Metros. When I first met him, and I told you all last week in the podcast that we had we had some disagreements and some issues. And I'm ready to share some of those things now because I do think that given the news that has happened, stuff is starting to make sense. At the time the murder made national news, there was statements from Jim Kenney, our current mayor, and District Attorney Larry Krasner. The city is, or was, I guess they're still planning to do a celebration. There was initially going to be a celebration of life service that was being planned at the William Wade LGBT Center. But things started to get a little messy. Last week the police, got an arrest warrant for Robert Davis. Now, this is a 19-year-old black man who is considered the prime suspect, and people have been asking for him. He is still at large, and people consider him to be armed and dangerous. That's what the police considered him. At the press conference, there was a narrative initially that they said that Kruger, who was 39 years old when he died, was helping Davis get through life. And that those who knew Kruger, that apparently was a narrative because Kruger had struggled with drugs and housing instability, at times, and they knew and they assumed that he was going to help people with similar struggles. But after he was named as the suspect, things began to get interesting. And let me tell you why. For me, as a black queer man, when I hear of young black queer men being involved with older white men, there is always something to go, Whether it's a black man or a brown man, there is a reason why I'm going to say this. Here's the tea that came out. Now, the Philadelphia Inquirer crime reporter Ellie Rushing did this. She got this story because the family of Robert Davis, this black man, they have come forward with alarming allegations against Kruger. So Davis's mother and brother claimed that Kruger's relationship began when he was 15 years old and that they had a relationship that involved sex and drugs. Okay, so when Kruger was around 34, 35, he was in a relationship, and I don't want to call it a relationship. It was rape. It was grooming. It wasn't even grooming. He was underage. It was pedophilia. It was rape. 34 years old. They're accusing Kruger at 34 of talking to this man when he was 15 years old, and a 19-year difference, and they were involved in drugs. Okay, Davis's family said that they also said that that Kruger had threatened to post sexually explicit videos of Davis online. The reporter said that the investigators found disturbing images and messages on Kruger's phone, and that content is now in the hands of the Special Victims Unit. Now, his brother, Josh Kruger's brother, Zachary, had said to the press that he hopes there's no truth to this. He said, what has become clear to us is that Josh was in a bad place. They did not know how bad of a place, but they said they went through his house after the police called, and there are certain things they found that made it clear there were problems with him. Okay? Zachary would not tell the press what it was, but it was lots and lots of small baggies. And as well as the kind of scale you would use to weigh drugs. There was a scale inside that house. They also, police indicated early on in the investigation that they had found methamphetamines in Josh's bedroom. Though they did not specify how much, Josh had previously written about his struggles with meth use, and all that. The brother said he wouldn't be surprised if he had relapsed and was dealing. He said, whatever is true about robberies, and let's remember that it's the family that is saying these things. Nobody deserves to be murdered like that. They said that, they lost their other brother in July and now this, and they said the mother is a mess. Listen, let me just keep it 100. The William Wade Center, when I heard this news, I was triggered, I was angry, and I just said to myself, you know, I understand that people are grieving and I understand how real it is, but we have to get to a point as a people, um, you know, that, you know, that we need to get as a people, that we need to get as a people that we can't continue to have these types of feelings and this type of bias and these thoughts, that we have to be mindful, we have to be considerate of the issues that occur. We have to, because there's so many people that will use us in ways. When I heard this, I tweeted out public. I was one of the first people in the community at my level, and I said, "Listen, we can't mourn people who create harm. It's obvious that Josh Kruger had an inappropriate relationship with this young black male, and that there's no such thing of a relationship. You can't have a romantic relationship with a fucking minor. You can't have pictures and images of underage. There's nothing that's disgusting. You can't have a relationship. When I first saw the age difference, I thought to myself, how long did they know each other? And it's giving grooming. And what would make someone shoot someone that many times in cold blood? What was happening? Why is this boy on drugs? Why is this older man giving him drugs? You know what this remind me of, y'all? Ed fucking Buck. I covered the Ed Buck case, okay, for the Daily Beast. Do y'all remember Ed Buck? Do y'all remember this white Democrat, okay, who lived in Los Angeles, California, who had a apartment, and he would bring in black men specifically, and he would party and play with them young black men that was much younger than him. He was an older white man, and he would give them drugs, get them high, and have sex with them, and they would overdose, and there would be situations, and there were black men that were getting drugged out and dying in this man's house. Had them flued out to L.A. There was a boy that I knew, a young black man that was in my neighborhood, that I found out from Houston, that went to this man's house and was found dead. And they was not arresting him. They were just getting these men out on stretchers. And these black men would consistently die in this man's house under weird circumstances. And because of how prominent this donor was, he was donating the Hillary Clinton campaign and other Democrats, they turned a blind eye until another body was found dead. And how many black queer men was being exposed to drugs and being poisoned by this disgusting, perverted fucking man? And that was what was happening. And we hear these stories in black queer community, okay? You got to understand, we are fetishized, we're exoticized. There's stereotypes about us. It's racism and porn, where they do all of the colorism and all of the ideas of the strong black buck and the mandingo, all of that racist history and sexuality and that exploitation of black male bodies and masculinity and genitals, right? That shit permeates. I tell people all the time that all of that BBC, big black cock, all of that fetishizing of black gay men and even black men, right? All of the thugs and the homo thugs and all of the gay porn and the white twink getting penetrated by this big mandingo black man, all of that shit is racist as fuck. It's a fetish. And the fetish never stops on the Pornhub clip or whatever. On the OnlyFans, it never stops there. It continues into the psyche of what these men think of us in these streets and how they talk to us. I never had I have been fortunate to never have been sexually abused, but I have been sexually harassed. I have been groped. I have been in situations where older white men have come up to me and have grabbed me, have touched me in ways that's inappropriate, and have said very, very pervasive things to me. And I was silenced. I couldn't say anything because at that time, as a young black man, I didn't think I was going to be believed. And this has happened to me in Philadelphia in certain industry spaces. There's a reason why I don't go to neighborhood bars, y'all. There's a reason why I don't go to a lot of these neighborhood community galas and events. When I finished the LGBTQ beat for that I had at Philadelphia Magazine, the G Philly, I was so relieved to not have to deal with that part of the community again. Because when I went to those events, those gala events, I had to always bring at the time, my boyfriend, but now my husband, Mr. Johnson, because when I went by myself, I was I was targeted. I was in situations where people would say all types of things, try to proposition me. And it was just like so much. And you couldn't even say, you know, I was always having to be, very, I never felt like I was going to be, and this is a very, very sensitive conversation. I want to handle it in the right ways, but I never was physically assaulted in a way where felt like I was going to be raped or anything like that. So I never felt like I needed to have a, pepper mace or anything, but I was very uncomfortable. And I remember being in situations where I would literally try to avoid certain people. And these are people that are of prominence and power in this community. A lot of these older white gay men specifically have a lot of power and money and influence. And if you knew who they were, you know, what I have realized through time is I understand a lot of what happens to women. I will never experience the full on, sexism that women experience, but I understand what happens, why people don't necessarily name or call out every single person in those circumstances, because as the only black gay person at that time who was covering and doing journalism, these men had the power to blacklist me potentially. They had the power, and they tried. Some of them tried to actually, for other reasons. Some of them were retaliatory. Some of them tried to, stop a bag at one point. Some of them did other things. And I think it was off the fear of them thinking, will I ever name them or do those things? But personally, for me, I just found a way to get out. And I was fortunate enough to have the resources and the support to get out, to be able to change my career and go from being an LGBTQ editor to a writer at large, to editor at large, and to everything else, and to be a food editor. And so these encounters, I haven't had them anymore. And at the point where I'm at now, most people aren't doing that to me. But when I came in the game around 24, 25, when I started working at first at Philly Mag and going to these LGBTQ events and these galas and these mixers and things, a lot of times I'll be the only black person there. Or I was the only black queer person that was in a leadership position. I was very young, and many of these men were old enough to be my father, old enough to be, shit, some of them could have been my grandfather. But like a lot of the energy and the targeting, and I see this happen in the community a lot. And I've actually have spoken to other black queer men who are navigating spaces, whether they're running for office, whether they're trying to, be an influence, whatever. And we sit down and we have had conversations. And they're like our Me Too moments of like the experiences we had. My friend Terrell Green, who's in LA living his best life, he was telling me that in Philly, like he was targeted, like because of his youth and he was black and he fit all those check boxes. We all had these weird experiences, and some of us had these experiences with some of the same men. And we could able to just be like, you too, me too. Like that shit was fucking wild. And we talk about how we left. And so when I see a lot of young black gay men specifically that come into those communities, I'm always like telling them, listen, take advantage of the opportunities that you get, right? I'm never going to tell somebody not to network, but make sure that you keep your eyes open. And if there is anyone that do anything, call me. Let's talk. Watch out. We share watch out lists with each other. Like we're like, yo, I know we can't blast this out in the streets. People would, we know what happens in this fucking racist ass city. Like we know how people will not believe us, or how people will gaslight us, or how people will stop things. And I want to protect people. And so I'm like, listen, let's form a union. Let's form a community. We do. We literally share text messages and DMs that like I don't get them anymore, but we got a little group, and we literally be talking about some of these creepy ass men, and we're like, look, that dude did that. Let's warn somebody. But we have our own little, special victims unit, because out here people don't give a fuck, or don't listen, or don't care, or don't believe Black queer people when we experience sexual harassment and issues. So we literally have to create our own little unit and discuss the things that we know and we hear, so we can keep our people protected. Because the law don't give a fuck. The police department, they don't give a fuck. Like, what's funny? It's like, if you're a white gay man and you feel like a hate crime happens to you, you can yell that shit and they will come immediately. Us, they don't give a fuck. How do I know? Because when we were being racially discriminated in the neighborhood, the elected officials, none of these people were speaking out. There was a handful of them who did, but a lot of them turned a blind eye and ignored it. We still got what we need to get done. And so with all the things we're observing right now in this industry, we're protecting ourselves. We're making sure that we're okay. And I will tell you personally that in these circles, I had heard things about Josh Kruger. I did. I heard things. And because of the fact that I didn't know, I didn't see it directly, I wasn't going to speak on it publicly. But what I did hear, and things came to me after the fact, right? That he was a little creepy. No one had accused him of rape, but there was a notice of him liking younger Black men, Black and brown men, Latinx men, younger men, that he would always be a little extra. My friend Terrell shared on my Instagram that at one point in time, he had a really strange encounter with him. And because we've had so many of these weird experiences with these particular white men, we call them Ed Bucks. We just never have thought to ourselves, that could be me, or it would go that far. We didn't know who Robert Davis was. But what we do know, and what we have heard, because we've heard about the accusations of the disgraced Robert Wynn at the Mazzoni Medical Center, right? That we heard allegations that Robert Wynn was potentially sexually abusing patients and people there. And you got to remember, this is a community center, right? This was a community health center that was helping people. A lot of these people dealt with addiction and struggling with suffering from addiction, dealing with, drug usage. A lot of these people are coming from lower income backgrounds. They don't have the money, don't have the resources, they don't have connections with lawyers, they don't have a team, a support system. So these are vulnerable members of our community that were being preyed upon by these vultures. And so I publicly was one of the first to publicly say that this memorial by the city and the community needs to be canceled immediately. The next day, I got contacted and I was informed that the William Way Center had canceled that event. And that's what needs to happen, because that shit is unacceptable. We do not memorialize predators. We do not memorialize people like that. And honestly, I understand that Robert Davis does not have the best, life. But listen, this is what has been said. This is the update. I'm going to read to you all. The William Way Center Community Center has decided to cancel the celebration of life for Josh Kruger, scheduled for October 29th, 2023 at the center. With the allegations that have recently surfaced about Josh's murder and the complexities involved, we don't believe that we can create a safe space either for Josh's family, friends and family, or for those who have rightful anger and concerns over allegations of child sexual abuse. As more is revealed about the facts of the case, we hope that together we can figure out the right next steps to acknowledge and remember the many victims in this case, individuals, families, and communities. Enough said. And, I hope this is a wake-up call for many people in the community who, there are some people that's being disgusting right now. They are out here not caring about this Black man. But I hope that these charges, that he is seen as a victim and that he is right now at large, and I hope he's in custody and safety. And I really hope they release this man. This young man has clearly experienced a lot in his life. He's been exposed to drugs that he had no business partaking in. He's been sexually abused and manipulated, and he's been taken advantage of by a fucking creep in our community who had access to power, a city employee who had access to power and influence by this white man who had all of that influence. And I have had my issues with Josh, and I'm going to speak a little bit on it. I found Josh in my encounters to be arrogant, to be anti-Black, and to be fucking delusional. One of the things he said to me one time when I was at Metro is that he said to me that he felt like, he said, let me take a breather because it's so fucking disgusting. He said to me one time in a conversation that he felt like he was more black than me based on the lived experiences he faced. And that I, even though my skin color was black, had more of the experiences of a privileged black person, of a privileged white person than he would ever have because of the fact that he experienced homelessness and that he experienced, living with HIV and that he experienced a lot of other issues around addiction. And he said that he had a more of a black experience that was relatable to the black community than me because I did not have those experiences. Listen, I've never wanted to slap a motherfucker. I never wanted to put hands on a motherfucker. I've never wanted to ever pop off physically. But when I tell you that I had to go into another room when I was at Metro, I was visiting an office. When I tell you I had to go into another room and call one of my friends and be like, you will not believe what the fuck this motherfucker just said. Because it took everything in me. I was 20, this happened in 2015. This happened 8 years ago. I was 24 years old. And this man sat his ass up and said this to me. No, I was 23 because it was before October. I had got the column later that year. This motherfucker said this to me. And I said to myself, how fucking ridiculous. And so I remember exactly how I said this to Josh. I said, let me stop you. I said, are you done? I said, are you done? I said, let me tell you something. I said, first of all, that is racist. He's like, here you go. Everything. I said, no. That is racist. I said, there is so much wrong here that I shouldn't even have to educate you, but I feel like I need to tell you this. As a gay man to another gay man, you as a white gay man, you as a cis white gay man will never know what it feels like to be a black queer man in this country, in this city. Let's just start the fuck there. Second of all, let me tell your jealous ass something. This degree I got, this education I got, I earned it. Okay, you're saying I'm living the life of a privileged white person? Baby, I was on financial aid. I was on a full ride scholarship because my smart ass knew something that maybe you did not know. But I believe he was a Penn alum. So what the fuck was he talking about? But moving on, right? You're telling me that I have a privileged life of a white person because you experience homelessness. So you describe the black experience as getting HIV, living in homelessness and dealing with drug abuse. That's the black experience for you. You don't know nothing about no black excellence. You don't know nothing about black promise. You believe that black excellence do not exist in this black life, that there are people that are not having to experience homelessness and drugs to still be black, and you think that you can relate more than motherfucking me? How can you fix your mouth as a white person and say that? How can you call yourself a progressive and say some shit like that? When I tell you I was done, when I tell you that I never fucked with him again, when I tell you that me and him were blocked, I blocked that motherfucker on Twitter. When I tell you I never spoke about it, I've never shared this story publicly because I was so heated. I was heated. And I just knew for starters that where I was in my career when I was starting at Metro, that was one of the first places, major publications I had worked with, that I didn't have the popularity or the clout that I do now to go after and call this man out. But what I did do was I stopped talking to him. And my friends knew about what he did, and they stopped talking to him. And I was really angry, y'all. I mean, it's disgusting. And to see people, just go on this whole, oh my goodness, he was for the people, he was for this. He did all of that with ego. He did all of that with anti-blackness. And let me tell you, more people know what I'm talking about with him and how he was out of line. And everyone wants to talk about how do you deal with vilifying, da 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 da. Listen. It is what the fuck it is. Okay? There will be no mourning for pedophiles where I stay and where I am. May he rot in piss. I'm done. Okay. I'm sorry. I just... So in other news, I want to say this, justice for Jada Pinkett Smith. I read her book Worthy. Yes, when you're an author and you're connected, you can read things before they come out. Britney Spears' new book, Baby. I'm reading all the books so y'all can know what's up. So I got a chance to read Worthy, which comes out this week. It's the autobiography. Jada Pinkett Smith is talking. She's telling it all. Lots to tell. And some of the big things that came out is, of course, her and Will Smith. She said we've been separated for 7 years. She talks about, issues they've had in marriage. She talks about Tupac. She talks about how Tupac had alopecia and, like she did, and how, he at one point wanted to propose to her or something of that nature, but they didn't have chemistry, but he was like a soulmate to her. She talked about her shock about Will Smith and the slap, talking about how he said, made the comment about being the wife and that he hadn't called her a wife before. How Chris Rock tried to, apologize to console, but this was old shit because apparently when rumors were being said that Will and her had divorced, Chris Rock tried to throw his shot at her. So there has been a lot of history and now a lot of stuff making sense. But let me say this with all you fake Will Smith fans. Oh, Will Smith is getting embarrassed by Jada. Oh, Will Smith is this and this and that and that and this and this and that and that. And oh, she's embarrassing our king and he's being, being a fool. She makes a fool of that man every time. Will's in a toxic relationship. We need to get out of there and free this and free that. Child, if you read Will Smith's book, which I can tell y'all did not read, most of this tea has been already said. There was already mention of a separation between Will and Jada. This is not news. No one read the book. This motherfucker was cheating too. He was a dog. He was arrogant. He was a jerk. He never listened to Jada. Jada get her lick back for all I want to be real about. Listen, y'all need to recognize that Will is not this cute, charming, nice man. He is a good guy, but he's flawed. He has flaws, and his flaws was his ego. Will was very hungry into his career. He never tended to Jada like he needed to do. Jada talked about also, growing up from Baltimore, how she sold drugs when she was younger and dealt with that trauma. She does a lot in this book, but I'm not going to tell everything because you need to read it. But what I want to be real about is there are some stuff that she talks about that is not a surprise. I mean, even the August Alsina situation, y'all, like, what are y'all talking about? But let me tell you, that Unbreakable song or whatever, that was from Alicia Keys, also somebody who came from a fraught, messy-ass marriage situation. She talking about something, she want that Will and Jada love. Honestly, look, I feel like they're together for the kids, but the kids are now grown. I feel like they're together for taxes. If they break up, they living in separate houses, they doing separate things. All of that shit is out there. All I'm saying is that one, I'm over this whole narrative. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to sidebar this. I don't care to hear any more about Will and Jada's relationship. And I don't care to hear any more about Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade's relationship. I think Dwayne Wade and Jada are great. I'm not Jada. I think that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union as parents for Zaya, their daughter, is a beautiful thing. I think their advocacy for the LGBTQI community is wonderful. But I'm a little tired of hearing about them. I feel like they're getting overexposed. I feel like every month, Gabrielle Union has a new story, a new tale to tell us about her business. I want to see some movies. And I want to see you do movies where you're not typecasted. Because Gabrielle Union get typecasted as the black woman who's so successful but just can't find a man somehow. Like, have y'all noticed that? She's always typecasted. I want to see her in some more movies. She was in The Inspector, and that was probably one of her best performances in a long ass time with Jeremy Pope, a very great film. She was getting Oscar buzz for 5 seconds, Golden Globe buzz. She didn't get all that, but she got an Independent Film nomination, I believe. She did it, probably one of her better performances of her career. But I want to see more of her in more films like that. I want to see her doing the acting, She's written many books, I get that. But I don't know. I don't need to hear all her business. I feel like it's just too much. I don't care. I don't care about the break baby between you and Dwayne Wayne. Look, you got back with him and y'all got a surrogate. Y'all living your life, okay? We don't need to hear no more, Look, Jaya, is doing well. The family seems to be good. The sons, the kids. Just have your life. We don't need to know no more. I don't care. Dwayne, donate money, you Hall of Famer. Enjoy your life with your cute shoes, your outfits. Stay fly, stay cute. Gabrielle, girl, do your thing. But I just feel like all of these so-and-so reveals this and reveal. Why do we care? I know why Jada's doing it. Because let me say this, because I'm going to get y'all all together. Everybody want to talk about Jada this, Jada that. Will Smith sold a whole book with over 400 pages, 16-hour podcast long, not podcast, book recording, talking about his business life, okay? Chris Rock did a whole year-run Netflix special bashing them. He got a check. Why can't Jada get a check? Everybody got Jada name in her mouth. Everybody blaming Jada for Will. She didn't tell Will to do that. Now we know what the story is. That was Will and his ego. And y'all always act like it's her. Everybody's been making her the villain. Justice for Jada. Jada ain't hid nothing about who she is. Will likes it. Will is a September Libra. You know, they're a little different than us October Libras. But you know what? He can bite off more than he can chew. Will is that kind of dude. Libras often do take in a lot that people think is like, wow, that's a lot you're taking on. But we weird with it. But like, she's a Virgo and she's being a Virgo. And this is what Virgos do. So I need people to stop acting like Will's the victim here, because Will ain't no victim. Will is no victim. Will has done his shit. It is what it is. It is what it is. So we're going to find out. We're going to get to the meat of it all very, very soon. So let me get into this. This is Ask Ernest. This is a really good question. So this is a question for one of my listeners. I'm going to read it out loud. Dear Ernest, I hope all is well. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on all your achievements and happy belated birthday. Recently, I've noticed that the world is on fire. There's been lots of tension between Israel and Palestine, and I personally am praying for all lives to be protected, especially your children, during this matter. You normally use your platform to speak about issues of injustice and cruelty. I've noticed you haven't said anything about both Israel or Palestine. Is there a particular reason for that? And if so, what is the reason? Thank you for that question. I know a lot of people have been messaging me and trying to tell me things. I'm going to really take my time here. You know, as my best friends say to me, Jamarcus, he's always like, take your time, Pastor, take your time. Because he knows I get a lot of hit-ups about stuff. But I want to read you something that was said, and I'm going to read you what was said. I'm going to read you what a good person said, and I want people to understand. So this came from a journalist, a Black woman journalist. She's a feminist. Her name is Marie Tasuma, but she goes by Blue Centric on Instagram. She's got a lot of followers, and she's a dope woman. This is what she said that really, stuck with me. And I'm going to read this the way she wrote it. If your favorite Black academics, cultural critics, and talking heads remain silent on taking a side in the Israel-Palestine conflict and instead just send love to all the innocent people harmed, be clear that this is a reasonable boundary for their safety. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from racially biased consequences. A few years ago, I wrote an article about a study that had come out about the most hated groups on social media. Journalists and media pundits were towards the top of the list, and of them, guess which demographic received the most hate and public vitriol? Black women. And you know why? The unspoken but ever-present caste system of white supremacy has spoon-fed everyone the subconscious belief that we are loud, illogical, and unruly. So seeing us take a stance of nuance, clarity, and assertiveness is viscerally jarring to people in ways they don't even have the language to describe. Because of our lack of proximity to maleness or whiteness, confident, factually accurate Black women in media are not supposed to even exist, let alone thrive. Which is why we trigger people, even those who look like us, so deeply when we command respect with our intellect. And those of us who want to keep thriving only do so through cultivating heightened discernment. So while I appreciate the people who keep saying they can't wait for me to do a deep dive on the current conflicts overseas, while I appreciate the desire for education and discourse around this topic, I'm going to have to respectfully decline taking y'all on that journey. But what I will say though, My heart goes out to all the mothers grieving the loss of innocent children this week, to all the families watching videos of slain loved ones be posted all over the news, and to those who sincerely want peace but who are being misrepresented on either side by the actions of extremists. They are the true victims here. P.S. Please don't let TikTok videos be the extent of your research on this topic, quote unquote. I've seen several clips floating around of folks trying to make this topic accessible for BIPOC audiences, and while I appreciate the efforts, all the ones I've watched are strongly dangerous or almost dangerously overly simplified. I would strongly suggest you dig deeper before coming to any conclusions.
Seems like somebody didn't media train Kylie Jenner. As you guys see, she reposted this saying, "Now and always we stand with the people of Israel." And oh my God, this completely led to her photos being spammed with the Palestinian flag. If you go on her page, they are running rampant in her comment section right now for her posting that. You see why I said I'm not talking on this topic, bro? You're either going to get spammed and reported by people who support Israel, or you're going to get spammed and reported by people who support Palestine. So your best bet, especially if you're trying to be performative, keep your mouth closed and just stay tuned to the information that's being provided. Why would you post something not being ready for what will come if you post it?
And there you have it. And there you have it. And there you have it. Y'all want to keep me. Y'all want to preserve me. There are crises that happen every day. And as I told you all when I first started this show, I'm not going to be the expert on every single thing. I don't want to be the expert on every single thing. And as somebody who has a deeper understanding of this situation, based on my own personal global experiences and travel, there are so many things that I would want to say. But when you're in the middle of a heightened crisis, you ain't gonna win in that situation. As a Black, young, queer man, I don't win. I need to protect myself. Self-preservation is key. No matter how I discuss this, no matter how thoughtful and nuanced I can be, I have seen some things to people that I care about lately over the past week, and we have had conversations. I've spoken with Black and brown people of influences, and we have had conversations, and I've had conversations with people, and I said to them, listen, I lose something. Who gonna replace that? And who am I, and what do I say that's gonna actually make an actual deliberate decision? I made a joke that sometimes you see white women who get in these situations, they say they're going to act like a white, so a friend of mine made a joke, said they're going to act like a white woman, a white liberal woman during the racial uprising. She's going to read, she's going to stay educated, and she's going to stay out of it. To be honest, I have seen people already being discussed as if they are anti-Semitic or they're anti-Palestine, and they're framed in ways that have been, I feel like, intellectually dishonest and unfair to the proper acknowledgement of who these people really are and what they are saying. But you're never going to win in a situation like that. You're never going to win when you have people that are going to try to pit you on one side of the issue over another. You don't win. You don't win. And it's not even about a selfish choice to win or not win, but the reality is that everybody's different. Some of you are, as private citizens, as individuals that got your own platforms, that don't have massive followings and contracts or the ability to be public figures deal with this a lot differently. Because I done seen people already try to interpret my posts a certain type of way. And no. Because Black people are always being expected to take positions and be the sacrificial lamb behind global issues when our global pain and our trauma is oftentimes putting us in positions of sacrifice. I have risked my career so many times defending my existence as a Black queer person. And I did that without a lot of people who were not in my skin doing the same exact thing. And so I'm saying that I do not have all of the information, and I am not going to put myself in a position where everything that I have done to be an advocate for various other issues will fall on this issue. And so, no, I am going to shut the fuck up. I am going to see this play out. I am going to read. I am going to learn more, and I am not going to get involved. Because the moment I say something and you see the power of my words, this shit goes in a different direction. And there are people that want to scapegoat and force identity politics and expectations on Black people. Disgusting. People have said things to me like, this week, which I'm not even going to go there. Oh, well, I'm surprised that you haven't said nothing given that the Jewish community has been standing up for Black people like you during the Civil Rights Movement. We're not going to do that. I can't believe you ain't going to say nothing about this because apartheid in South Africa impacted your people like it's impacting Palestine. I'm not going to go there with you either. I'm not playing these games. I'm not doing it. And you know what? The rest of the world and many people in this situation won't. And if people can't understand and respect that, it's fine. Because you know what? I got to live to see another day. Because I have seen what is already happening to Black public figures who are speaking on this issue. I'm seeing them lose the opportunity in the platforms to be able to speak. On both sides of this, I'm seeing people lose jobs. I'm seeing cancel culture is real. And what do I talk about in my book about cancel culture? I wrote the book on cancel culture. I know how this shit works. And so as somebody who wrote the book on cancel culture, I know how to avoid it, and I'm avoiding it. Because at the end of the day, I want everybody to be okay. I want peace. I want people to live. And so let me be clear that while I will not take a public position, because quite frankly, I don't need to be taking any international public positions. Listen, I'm somebody, but I ain't that somebody. And I'm not even going to pretend like I'm that dude. Some of us got to let go of our egos a little bit and let some people with some diplomacy step in. I do not like to see innocent people killed. And I believe that innocent people are being killed on this issue. I don't think every person that's criticizing this issue is a terrorist. I don't think that everybody that is sharing their thoughts are defending terrorists. And I don't believe that everybody sharing their thoughts are defending colonialism. I don't think it is that black and white. I don't believe that personally. And maybe even in saying that might be too much for the people involved. But what I will say is that at the end of the day, this cannot continue. This cannot keep happening. And this culture around how we silence people into fear, that has to stop. Because I'm being real. I really recognize the limitations of being who I am and what I can do. And this right here, y'all not paying these bills. Y'all not going to. I've seen so many people that look like me lose it all behind something that's across the sea. Not me. Not me. And none of these, and stop asking for black labor, especially from black women, because I've seen so many black women be targeted from different organizations and groups. We got to stop it. Stop asking us to be the fucking mules for every fucking thing. I'm going to let y'all have it. I'm going to let everybody else that's not black deal with it. We gonna always, and let me be clear, we are showing up. Black people are showing up on this matter on both sides of the issue, but I am just not going to be one of them. And there's a reason. You heard what was said. We see what's happening. And you don't win either side. Kylie Jenner had to take that post down in support of Israel. There are groups that's being called terrorist supporters that are connected with some of these Black Lives Matter groups, allegedly. There's a lot of conflation happening. Now everyone's acting like anyone for racial justice is now anti-Semitic because of how they feel. We're hearing various speeches and lectures given about this issue, and it's a lot to take in. It's a lot, and I'm just not going to put myself in a situation where I have to make a decision about something that, quite frankly, honestly, is not going to, regardless of what I say, no one's going to want to hear it. And quite frankly, you don't need to hear it. So I tell people, just be thoughtful and understand that Black people are not going to always be your go-to source to be educated on something, especially for those who live in America, live in the continental U.S. Listen, that Middle East situation requires other scholars and experts. Listen to scholars, read books from different people, listen to the Black folks and the scholars who are talking from this from a very widely global perspective. I don't have that. And I'm not going to pretend I have it on that issue. So that's a long answer, but it's the answer that I got, because this is a super long episode. I said the less is more episode. Child, is clearly more. But I just want to be very thorough on that. So when people are wondering what's going on, that's where we're at. So moving along. So movies have been happening. I had the pleasure this weekend of seeing the Taylor Swift concert film, the Eras filmed. I had a blast. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I knew I was going to love it. It was over 2 hours, and it was phenomenal. And it was just, I know her music really well, so I was just rocking out. And I was just super excited about just the talent, the music, the dances, the costumes, the swagger. Listen, she's having a good old time. And it's obvious somebody else likes her, and that is Beyonce. Beyonce showed up to the world premiere of the Eras Tour concert film and was with Taylor Swift, and the ladies were looking good. They took pictures. Listen, Libra season was in full effect. Cardi B's birthday was on, you all know, the 11th, the day before mine. She was being pampered. But look what we had going on. We saw two incredible musical icons next to each other. Taylor was paying homage to Beyonce's appearance and just shouted her out. And you know what? I'm so happy they joined forces, because I'm so tired of these fake rumors. Like, I'm tired of every time women in the industry are doing well, we got to compete and compare. Beyonce currently has the highest grossing concert for a female artist. We don't know Taylor Swift's numbers yet, but Beyonce currently holds it. And Beyonce has a concert film coming out in December 1st on World AIDS Day to honor her father, Uncle Johnny, who passed away from HIV/AIDS complications. These women are rich and different in what they're doing. Taylor Swift had an incredible tour that she's still doing. This is why do we have to compare them? Taylor clearly knows who's the queen, and clearly Beyonce is the reigning queen. And no one's confused about that between their age difference and their impact. But they can both be great in their own lanes. And why do we have to compete? And I was so tired. Some of my friends be doing, I'm like, can y'all stop? Why does it have to, the Beyonce is Beyonce. I feel like, I keep telling people this, you cheapen Beyonce's value by comparing her to others. She's incomparable. Beyonce's incomparable. Do you know what incomparable means? Do you know what it means to be incomparable? Incomparable means that what you do is so unique, is so special, is so innovative that nobody can be compared to you. Beyonce is incomparable. Use our words. Understand our adjectives. When you say an artist is incomparable, that means that literally you cannot compare them. You cannot even put them up against each other, because that's what it means. Beyonce, in my generation of music, is incomparable. So every time somebody breaks a record, I'm sick of you all saying versus. You can't versus her. She's one of one. She's the only one, period. Don't want to hear shit. Every time Taylor Swift has a milestone, what I will continue to say is, congratulations, girl, you did that. And guess what? I can say that without having to name drop Beyonce, because Beyonce is incomparable. Say it with me. Beyonce is incomparable. Beyonce Giselle Knowles is incomparable. So all of these conversations, every fucking time Taylor Swift does something great, we don't need to have a conversation about Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift the same with her fans. And when Beyonce slays, shut the fuck up, because your fave has already acknowledged that Beyonce is one of her influences. So you cannot top the influence if the influence is incomparable. The end. Stop it. Stop the comparisons. Stop all of that. Stop comparing women. Stop doing all of that. It's just pointless. They are in their own lanes and they're doing great. I have to say that because in this industry, I tell y'all love comparing people. Oh my God, when I first came into business, I was being compared to Solomon Jones. I am so happy y'all don't do that anymore. But like, just because you got two black men who have an opinion about politics, social issues, now I remind y'all somebody, I am not Solomon Jones. I am not an older black cishet black clergy man who lives in the Northwest that, believes, let me stop. I'm not him, okay? I'm not that guy. My beliefs, my ideas are not his. His is for him, and he has an audience that likes it, and people love it, but I'm a different type of cat, and I come from a different type of background and generation, and we can coexist. But stop comparing us. Stop comparing me to every black person you fucking know. Stop saying I look like Malcolm Kenyatta. Baby, look at the material. Stop playing me like that. Stop comparing all of us. We're all different. Y'all love putting black people and people into that. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's no one like me. Okay, I'm an alien superstar. Next. Movies to watch on Paramount Plus. The Burial, which it's on Amazon Prime. The Burial is with Jamie Foxx and Tommy Lee Jones. Watch that film. It's fun. It's cool. It's a different movie. And I don't want y'all to sleep on it because there's so many movies coming out right now that I know y'all might sleep on this. People are saying it's got some Oscar buzz. I didn't get Oscar buzz personally from it. I might see a Golden Globe nomination, maybe. Jamie Foxx is really good. This is one of the best films Jamie Foxx has been in a long time. I will say it has that like corny, little rate. Like it got... movies like that, I know I would probably think it's corny, but a lot of y'all love and y'all sucker for movies like that. Like, I get it. Like, y'all was a sucker for Air, which was with Viola Davis and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, which I was in. I watched that film. It did win me over. I was impressed with it. Okay, so I ain't gonna hold you. Even though I knew it was a little bit of a heartwarming type of wannabe film, but it was good. I feel like this is good too. And Jamie Foxx is the best thing to happen to the film. It is very fun, but it's got like that, Green Book energy, not the historical issues, but that Green Book energy of that, we all going black people and white people working together kind of film. It's kind of cheesy a little bit, but it's based on a true story, and it is a very fascinating film. So I highly recommend you all watch that. I do think it's good. I want to know what y'all think. As far as music go, there's two interesting things going on. So, there's a lot of chatter about Drake and what's going to happen this week with his album. We're going to hear For the Dogs is supposed to be all of his songs are going to occupy the top 20 of Billboard. There's going to be massive success, apparently, lots of streams, lots of this. And, a lot of prominent music critics have said the album was not good. It's trash. And, Offset just dropped a new album on Friday the 13th. And I must say, that surprise album, it was good, y'all. Offset was in his bag. Lots of features, lots of great appearances from our faves. Davius Wilburn. But like a lot of, great music, great collaborations, a great album. I must say I was very impressed with that rap album. And a lot of rap has been kind of mid lately, but Drake's album is trash. But Drake's album is projected to do well. It's going to be number one on Billboard. He's going to break Spotify. I mean, he does this. But this is an interesting conversation I had with Amanda, Dr. Parks. We were talking about this lately. And the thing about it is that we was just saying, when did Drake have a really great hit that we last liked? And honestly, I think it was nice for what was like his last number one single that was like a really good hit. The rest of the songs he's been dropping has just been very subpar or just boring or forgettable. Nothing that was long standing. And people are revisiting his canon. I feel like the younger Drake was as an artist, the better his music was. The older he got, the more annoying he became. But he's just completely, popped out now. What I said is that there's a difference between being a best-selling artist and a best streaming artist. I feel like Drake is a great streaming artist, but he's not a best-selling artist. Like, people buy Beyonce's albums. People buy Taylor Swift records, Adele records. They will buy that shit in vinyls and CDs, okay? These are artists that can actually physically sell units and push units. this streaming culture has now created album equivalent streams. So now streams can equivalent for album sales, even if there was no physical album purchase. So for example, I have Google Play. I can listen to an album one time and stream it, but like that will help towards the sale. Where I'm from, you have to buy the downloads, you have to pay for the purchases. A lot of these artists are not like they're doing so well streaming, but they're not actually selling that many physical units enough to really do it. He's not to me a selling artist. Now he does sell tour tickets and concerts, but that man ain't out here doing the stadiums tours like Beyonce and Taylor Swift are doing. He's not doing stadiums, and I think there's a reason. And I really feel like he's just fading. I feel like he's at a point where he's going to keep, and I feel like his star power is fading. He hasn't had a number one single. Well, he just had this stupid slime song. But that 21 Savage album he did debuted at number two, following Taylor Swift's album. But what was funny is that SZA was able to topple Taylor Swift and have an album that charted for like six consecutive weeks. But Drake's album, with 21 Savage did not do that. It came in at number two. And that was interesting. I remember there was some shade that was being thrown, that he was throwing about the fact that his album did not do number one on the Billboard 200. Now, his solo album is, because there's not really that many albums out right now. So there's a lot of interesting things that are happening that got me shook. So I was happy, yeah, I was very happy about everything. And it was, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. You know, just, but I don't think the album is going to sell that way. I don't think the album is going to, I mean, it's going to do well, but I don't think it's going to have the kind of longevity that his past albums had. I think it's going to be a streaming juggernaut for a couple of weeks, but then after that, we're gonna move on and be able to, listen to real music again. Speaking of real music again, Usher is coming back on the charts. He is doing this, that he's coming out with new music, like new music, and ready to talk. Confessions next year turned 20 years old. Don't remind me, but I'm reminding y'all. But he's got a new album, and it's called Coming Home. And he's already got a song that has been one of his hardest tracks. He had an album that came out in 2016 called Hard to Love. He hasn't had an album in like 7 years, but the ninth studio album will arrive the same day as his Super Bowl halftime performance, which is on February 11th. So Usher is going to maximize the streams and the success and hype. He's performing at the Super Bowl, and his album is going to arrive the same day. And that's dope, because this is his first new album since 2016's Hard to Love, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200. He also had another album with Zaytoven, which was an 8-track project called A in 2018, but that wasn't really like an album, if you know what I mean. It only had like 8 tracks. But Coming Home is going to feature his new hit right now, that got on number 12 on the Billboard Hot R&B. It's called Good Good, with 21 Savage and Summer Walker. And so he's doing pretty good. He loves to be with his team. The album cover is gorgeous. His back is turned with the cross on the back. He's got a Georgia peach in the back. It's very flashy. It's very strong. But the album's called Coming Home, and he got that Georgia peach. So I guess it's going to take some Atlanta excitement, and it's also the transition from the Vegas residency to Atlanta. So we're going to see what Coming Home represents. But I love me some Usher. His birthday was this week. His birthday was on October 14th. And so he was doing his residency, Ashanti, another great Libra, Maya, all the Libras, baby, it's our season, but he's doing his thing musically. So, I'm super excited about that. I've been watching me some Love and Hip Hop. Love and Hip Hop Miami is steaming up. New York just finished. There's also Jocelyn's Cabaret just finished. But this latest episode, this one messy episode of Baddies. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all watching Baddies, the girls are coming to Philly on the show. They're making their stops across the East Coast, and now Philly is one of their stops. The girls came to Philly. Baddie, shot o'clock. Baddie, shot o'clock. The girls cannot get enough of it. So, we following that. But yeah, this is a long episode. It's like what I gave y'all a special deluxe edition, a 3 hour episode. Ironically, I'm saying less is more, but clearly more is more on this show. But I am super excited. I'm super excited about this week. I'm super excited about Cheney. I'm super excited about what I'm going to be doing. My surprise anniversary surprise. I don't know what's going on. I'm super excited. But listen, this has been a week. This has been a month, and there's so much more to come. So much more in store. Love this show. Love you all. And as always, be well and be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Earnestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.